So that's your job. And your job is to be willing to die. You're a soldier, man. You're so on the front line. You've gone too far to turn back. If you went and hid in a basement for 6 weeks, people all over the world would think the government had killed you. So you have to understand your obligation, what the universe have gave you. And so just wants you to know. Man, I looked at that smile on your face just now. And the first time I ever wished I was a photographer, to take that picture and let the world see that honesty and that integrity. And know some of the things I know, how you'll drive all over the country to chase us down.
It's like I'm stalking though.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Chase us down. Okay?
I do feel like I have an obligation for people. I mean, it's bigger than me.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But no, being business, you can't see it. It was business to Trump. He saw nothing.
All right.
Okay? Well, I just saw it, that smile. Okay? And so again, I just say, man, I thank you. I look at Kathy Hughes, what she's able to do with that children. I look at Carl Nelson, the Joe Madisons. You know, some can go further than others because some got leeway. But I just say, man, to sit here, my birthday, it's a weekend. Thank you for contributing to my birthday. You know, all I say is thank you. We move so fast. I don't know if you're married, I don't know if you're a family, I don't know if you're a wife. But when we get on here, we bosom friends. Anytime I see you, I stop whatever I'm doing. Hey, my man, how are you? Hey. Hey, man, what, you know? I owe that to you. Because together, we can beat this thug. Because it's the universal God. And so again, I just say thank you. Thank you for running me down, man. So again, but that's the obligation that you have. How old are you?
Oh, 36.
So you don't have the right to do what 36 people do. You don't have the right to go to the dance or go to the party. You don't have a right to take that trip to Europe when I might need that plane fare to fly somebody else to feed my people that love me. You feed them. Oh, it's one thing being hungry from food.
Right.
There's another thing being hungry for information.
That's right.
And that's you the feeder. You got to be the farmer. You got to grow the crop. You got to till the grain. And at nighttime, when you hear something that sounds like water, you got to go see if the crop's going to be flooded. That's your job, man.
Yes, sir.
And then you got to deal with people that think you're crazy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, that's their way out. I'm embarrassed that you told me this, and I didn't know it, so I think you're crazy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba Gregory. And the words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Da, da, da. Guess who's back? Back again. It's your friend. Tell some friends. It's Brother Ron. Guess who's back? It's Brother Ron, the artivist, the feeder. Feed you, feed you, feed you. This is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. It's not been a long time, but it's been a while. A lot of things have happened since the last time I've been on here yapping. A lot of things have happened since the last time I've been on here yapping. I'm blessed to be here. I'm not blessed. I'm be more. I'm not be less. I'm be more. See how it works? It's not the weekend. It's the we gain. So I hope we gain some clarity It's been a lot going on, and I just want to get deep into it. You know, this social media thing is interesting. It's a blessing and a curse, or be more and a curse more. It's good to be able to get this information out as fast as possible, but is it the correct information? Are these the correct narratives? And sometimes once a narrative get out there, it's hard to change the course when new information becomes available. And I'm talking about, in particular case, still strange fruit in 2026. We're talking about the Nolan Wells case, but we're not just talking about the Nolan Wells case. All eyes indeed on Mississippi. All eyes on Mississippi. You know, we just, dealing with the baby Cohen Wiley situation at Walmart in Senatobia. Now you got this Nolan Wells situation, but all has never been well in the Magnolia State. They got a long rap sheet when it comes to abuse and civil wrongs, not civil rights, but civil wrongs. So we're going to dive deep into the rabbit hole for the next couple of hours. And, this is my wheelhouse, actually, because I got a lot of experience in dealing with these type of questionable deaths and cases and whatnot like that. So we're going to get to it. But it was unfortunate to hear the news about the brother Nolan Wells. Nolan Xavier Wells, say his name, never forget. But things like this happen from time to time. And now, I know a lot of people said, well, his parents should have taught him better about being the one and only, about being the fly in the potato salad, but I don't think it's the case because, Dr. Neely Fuller, I interviewed him before some years ago, the late, great, righteous ancestor, Dr. Neely Fuller says that, no, you shouldn't hang around a bunch of black people either, unless we're doing something constructive. You shouldn't hang around a bunch of us unless we are disciplined and doing something constructive. And so I think about Shanquilla Robinson, is that the sister down in Mexico? Shanquilla Robinson. She went on a trip with her friends, and she was the only one that came back different in terms of coming back in a body bag. So I think Shanquilla Robinson, I think that's the case. Let me see. Type it up. Yeah, Phil put me out a little bit. I love Shanquilla Robinson. Yeah, that happened back, October 29th, 2022. She was on a trip with her friends. Oh, I call frenemies. I don't think nobody really have friends. You have frenemies. If you know, you know. And they did her dirty. And I don't know what's going on with that case. That happened back almost 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years ago on October 29th. Then you got the Kanika Jenkins situation outside of Chicago, that silent town. What happened to Kanika Jenkins? Let's see. Kanika Jenkins case. Let me see. Try to look up. Kanika Jenkins case. Kanika Jenkins was a 19-year-old found dead inside a walk-in freezer at the Crown Plaza Chicago O'Hare Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois, on September 10th, 2017. Her death sparked widespread internet speculation, but her family later reached a $10 million wrongful death settlement in December 2023. So she was in the room. I think they did Facebook live streams, stuff like that. She was in the room with a bunch of black folks. People look just like us, but they're not like us. They look just like us, but they're not like us. And she ended up disappearing and found in the freezer. You had the hotel videotape. It was kind of skipping, like it'd been edited or doctored. I don't know. But in result, she's found dead in the freezer on the other side of the hotel. It was a big hotel, right? And in an isolated area, which is spooky and weird. But the fact that they paid the family $10 million. That's interesting, right? I don't believe they could give you just this. They could give, it's just us, right? But the fact that the family got paid $10 million, something happened. Something happened. There was nothing natural about how she ended up being deleted. What's up, Spirit of Justice? Into his house, one love. So that Shanquella Robinson case, the Kanika Jenkins case, is people that had skin like us. All skin folks ain't kin folks, and all kin folks ain't family, y'all. So the thing about, don't hang around a bunch of white people. Now, what's interesting for me, my experience, when I was going to Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. I don't call it Missouri. I don't call it Missouri. I call it Missouri, a state of Missouri. I don't call St. Louis, or St. Louis. I like to call it Dred Scotland, because Dred Scott was told in St. Louis that he nor his descendants have any rights that the white man is bound to respect by law. That was by the U.S. Supreme Court, the Dred Scott decision. You nor your descendants have any rights that the white man is bound to respect by the law. So I like St. Louis, though. I ain't gonna lie, Dred Scotland. But I remember like freshman year when we used to sit in the cafeteria on the student center on main campus, right? Like when you come into the cafeteria on the student center, it'll be like these tables with nothing but black people. It'd be like a lot of other people around us, but we had this phenomenon known as black gravity, right? Where all black gravity, we all tend to like, okay, I see you, you see me, we do the nod, there was up we telecommunicating, whatever we're doing, right? So all the black folks, we kind of gravitated towards each other and sat with each other. It's kind of, I guess, a feeling of comfort in a predominantly white institution. So, I mean, people will actually ask us, is that why y'all all sitting together? And I thought that was interesting because it's something about when black folks tend to get unified or find some solidarity, some grounding, it brings a lot of attention from other people and other groups. And I'm saying, well, the Asians sit with the Asian or Koreans or the Vietnamese or the Hawaiian students or the Jewish students. They all got their little enclaves in the cafeteria. They sit with each other. But when black folks say we want to get with each other, we want to have a conversation and food for thought and have some food, it becomes an issue. There's a stigma to it, which is fascinating. And there's a book that came out some years ago, Why Do All the Black Kids Sit Together in Cafeteria? I'm paraphrasing the title. I think we had to read that while I was in school at WashU, but you didn't know it's their institution. But the fact that we get together is a problem. Because like I said, this system is run on white power. White power is divide and conquer. Black power is unity and solidarity. And black power has nothing to do with black supremacy. When I'm talking about black power, it's not saying that black people are superior to any other group of so-called people. The race thing is really silly because we all human beings, or we should be. More are more humane than others, right? But if you look at so-called black people, we are the originals. Everybody come out of us. So my thing is, we need to understand that, there is an issue. Sometimes if you are in a system that's meant to cut you before you get started, to make you quit before you get started, then you got to understand the system does not benefit you if you're trying to live a full life. If you're really trying to have self-determination in a system that's all about cutting resources and access from you, then you got to ask yourself a question. Why are you putting all this energy into an institute, into any situation that's never going to give you nothing but diminished returns? I need y'all to understand what I'm saying. Like some people don't understand the power of your energy. Is it better to be anti-war or pro-peace? When people say no justice, no peace, you think that the people that run this system losing sleep over you being slighted, being marginalized, being injured? No, they're not. But yet, they're taking your energy, our lives, one way or the other. If you understand what's going on, you realize this system is built on all types of blood sacrifices. See, y'all like to glitz it up and glamorize the Illuminati Pac said, Illuminati, kill the Illuminati, kill all that, expose the truth. What I'm trying to tell y'all is that, like Baba Dick Gregory will always say, when it's our turn to get the bomb dropped on us, you drop the bomb on me, baby. And they did that twice to black folk, right? They did that twice to us. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, Greenwood, 1921. Philadelphia, Move, 1985. So they did that twice. But don't be complaining or whining about it. But guess what? Because your tax dollars go to dropping bombs everywhere else. Bombs over Baghdad, bombs over Iran, bombs over Iran. So don't complain when it's your turn, when it's our turn. So I'm saying that nobody's innocent in this thing. Nobody's innocent. But getting back to what I'm saying, I have been in some interesting situations myself. This is not to pass judgment on the young man. He was just 18 years young. 18. Think about what you was doing, how you was thinking, how you was moving at 18. Hell, think about how you was moving at 28 or 38. My thing is, I have made a lot of questionable decisions that could have and should have cost me my life, but I'm here right now, July the 7th, about 9:59 p.m. Central, talking to you all in the year 2026. There are things that I have done in my past or choices I made that I should have paid a penalty, the ultimate penalty for. But I had favor. The righteous uncle said stars. I have several looking out for me that I know of. And the universal God gave me favor, gave me grace, gave me mercy. I have been in a situation where people say, well, you don't go over so-and-so house. Like, even talking to women. Women can set you up. I know cats that have been set up by women. Guys I went to school with, one guy in particular, this guy named Billy. He was a pretty boy back in high school. He was an upperclassman. He was a pretty boy. He was dapper. He used to dress sharp, very likable, had charisma, had them dreamy eyes, y'all girls in bedroom. I think he had like green eyes or something. He was like a red guy with reddish brown hair or whatever. I remember somehow I came across him in Facebook some way. Somebody made a post about him. Come to find out, he'd been dead for like some years. What happened to him was he was set up by this PYT, pretty young thing, in the hood in Memphis. He got set up for a robbery that killed him. And she's doing football numbers. That pretty young thing is doing football numbers in prison right now. So it's interesting. I've been caught up. I've been in places I should have never been to. I shouldn't be talking right now. So my thing is, I ain't gonna say, well, why he with all them white people? Now, it was sometimes I stopped going to baseball games. There's a lot of white people at baseball games. Well, I mean, when I went to the AutoZone Park in Memphis, they had a special day for World War II veterans. My maternal grandfather, he was still alive. Arthur Taylor Sr., who was a member of the Red Ball Express. There was a truck driving unit that supplied stuff for General Patton's Third Army post D-Day. So that man was driving trucks like Amazon, UPS, FedEx people be doing, but they were driving through snipers, through landmines and all this stuff, and sharp corners with no railings on mountainsides with the headlights off. My granddad was an interesting guy. So he was driving for Uncle Sam. He was a member of the Red Ball Express, took part in the Battle of the Bulge, 100% disabled, whatever like that. So they was honoring the veterans. This is back in 2004. I think it was about D-Day commemoration, all that stuff. So I went there, man. It was interesting. I went there with my grandfather, my mom, my brother, my sister. But going there was like a whole bunch of white people in the park, because baseball is America's pastime, right? Or was America's pastime. But the thing about it is, when I was there, I was getting that ancestral trauma memory of flashbacks of how white folks used to get around black people for picnics. We was on the menu. So we was the picnic. We was the feature attraction, and what was for dinner. We were what was for dinner. There's been documented evidence of cannibalism, cannibalizing black bodies, this culture. Also, black babies being used as gator bait down in places like Florida. It's been documented. And also, our torture was their entertainment because, they'll take pictures of us being mutilated, being burnt alive, sliced alive, and all that stuff. And they'll make these pictures into postcards. Without Sanctuary was I think it was a traveling exhibition in the early 2000s that this guy had a collection of postcards that were basically lynching photos. And then people sent these throughout the country. I remember Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois walking in Atlanta when he was teaching down in Atlanta back in the day. He actually saw the body parts of Sam Holes, who was lynched by a white mob outside of Atlanta. They actually had his body parts on sale at the store. They used to sell black people body parts. You pickle them, sell black people body parts at stores. Like, imagine going to Walmart and seeing black folks' body parts on display. But like Bob D. Gregory said, one of the biggest things going is organ harvesting. But people don't understand that lynchings were very ritualistic. It's a form of sex magic. I would classify it as a form of sex magic because a lot of times what they'll do to these black men, they lynch everybody. They lynch boys, girls, women, black, but also white folks were lynched as well too. One of our greatest supporters for our people in this country was noted newspaper man Elijah Lovejoy. He was lynched for being an abolitionist, for wanting to end slavery. Even the founder of the Mormon faith, his name Joseph Smith. What was it? Was it Joseph Smith? He was lynched in Illinois. I think he became the first presidential candidate to be lynched while running for office. I want to make sure I check that out. I want to call on Phil, but Phil can't be trusted right now. But I might call him for color commentary, for fact checking. So, yeah, I try to make sure I be informative and factual and correct. Yes, Joseph Smith, the founder of the Latter-day Saint movement, the Mormons, was lynched by a mob on June 27, 1844. Okay. It says Joseph Smith and his brother Hiram Smith were being held in a jail cell in Carthage, Illinois, awaiting trial on charges of treason. A heavily armed mob of roughly 200 men stormed the jail, overpowered the guards, and attacked the brothers. Both Joseph and Hiram were shot multiple times and killed during the assault. Okay, key factors leading to the lynching: destruction of the Nauvoo Expositor. Smith, acting as the mayor of Nauvoo, I think I'm saying Nauvoo, Illinois, ordered the destruction of a critical anti-Mormon newspaper printing press. This action caused severe public outrage and led to his arrest. Political power. Non-Mormon neighbors feared the growing political and economic influence of the Mormon community in Illinois. Polygamy. Secret rumors and public confirmations of Smith practicing plural marriage caused intense social and religious friction. The Nauvoo Legion. Smith had established a massive state-sanctioned local militia, which nearby residents viewed as a dangerous threat. So, was he running for president? There's a lot to be said. I'm going to tie it back to what it got to do with black folks, what I just said. Yes, Joseph Smith was actively running for president of the United States when he was killed. He is historically recognized as the first American presidential candidate to be assassinated. Wow. And he was lynched. That's a classic lynching. When you got denied due process, they broke him out of jail, armed mob, broke him out of jail, denied him due process and killed them. And also, you think about censorship. You're trying to control the press. First Amendment. Look, think about what we're doing in social media, how they try to suppress our freedom of speech. Think about all the stuff. Y'all got to say silly words like unalive and grape and stuff like that. I love grapes, but I don't love the other word that grape is used to cover. I love grapes, though, especially the seeded grapes. But what I'm saying is This is crazy. And the Mormons took on the United States government before the Civil War. They actually took on the American government. That's why they got Utah. Where that guy from that allegedly, deleted Charlie Kirk. Utah. Utah was established because the Mormons took on the United States government. And that's nothing that people don't understand about this country. Like, especially black people. I don't like the victim mentality. I really don't. I want to acknowledge the wrongs that have been done to us and the wrongs we do to ourselves and the wrongs that have been continually done. But the thing about it is, when people say I'm not my ancestors or ancestors, we really ain't, because what they did was they took what they needed. They took what they wanted. Abraham Lincoln did not free the slaves. They freed themselves. When the black men put on the Union blue and picked up them arms, it changed the game. Not only for themselves, but also for the country. When they decided they wanted self-determination, that helped shift everything for everybody else. When black people get together in unity and solidarity, hit almost 200,000 enlisted black men and boys saying enough is enough, put on the blue, pick up the gun. And they got it done. Just like with George Washington. He didn't win the American Revolutionary War without our help. I talk about James Armistead Lafayette. He's the guy that really won the war for America. He gave George Washington people the intel to beat the British at the Battle of Yorktown, the last and most decisive battle of the whole war, because it won the war for the colonies. And because that black man risking his life being a double spy, a double agent. And I'm going to keep on talking about that because I think it's really sad that a lot of our people don't understand that they can't erase us. Because if they erase us, they erase everything. We in everything. We in the founding fathers they won't acknowledge were black American natives and also white people like Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine was like one of the most important founding fathers. The rights of man, common sense, or I think common sense. What did Thomas Paine write? Cause I don't want to get it right. Cause I don't feel like doing no. Oh man, I got to do a correction the next live, right? Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense and Rights of Man. I think. Okay. Yes, Thomas Paine was a famous writer who fought for freedom. He wrote two very important books. Common Sense helped start the American Revolution. It was a small, cheap booklet. It told regular people that they did not need a king. No kings. Paine said people should rule themselves. It was like a flyer that everyone could read and share. Rights of Man defended the French Revolution. Paine wrote it in 1791. He said every person is born with natural rights. He argued that governments must protect these basic rights. All right. Why he's not remembered? Because he stood up for black people. He told Thomas Jefferson and the rest of the founding fathers, we are a bunch of hypocrites if we don't free black people. If black folks don't have a right to exist as equals to white people, or white men, whatever the standard is, we don't deserve it. So they got rid of Thomas Paine. They forgot about Thomas Paine. Majority of the people that came to his funeral were black people. And then they lost his body. We don't even know what Thomas Paine's remains are to this day. Let me see. Thomas Paine funeral was attended by mostly black people. I'm just using all this AI because I think, well, y'all don't understand. People think it's weird that I include AI. I don't really care. I am weird. Y'all don't challenge it though. Y'all accept everything that the AI says and does, and really you are in control. They're learning off of you. They learn off our behavior. And you might well just embrace it for what it is. It's not going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere. And really it's limited in a lot of ways. Y'all think it's a shortcut, man. You know how many prompts, sometimes how many hours it takes for me to get them to do something I say in a prompt situation? Like I got to really tweak the prompts and stuff like that. There's a lot of shortcomings to AI. It's like dealing with people. There's a lot of disappointments dealing with people. But once you understand that people are created to disappoint, then the disappointments don't become disappointment. They become, hey, it's part of the course. Same thing with AI. Same thing. Thomas Paine funeral. Mostly black people. So I gotta talk to myself. I talk to myself a lot. Yes, this is mostly true. Only 6 mourners attended the 1809 funeral of Thomas Paine, the famous writer of Common Sense. 2 of those 6 attendees were black. So only 6 people came to his funeral. This is one of the founding fathers, one of the most important founding fathers. Imagine if he had social media back in the day with common sense and rights of man. Imagine he was able to do that. He changed the world with one pamphlet. People say books don't change the world. Words create worlds, right? Uncle Tom's Cabin did have a say in the coming American Civil War. People always want to downplay artists. Why do they put artists? Look at music artists. Why do they go to all these extremes to control these artists through drugs, bad contracts, all types of things? Because artists are dangerous because we're thought provocateurs. We provoke people to think. And if you're trying to control people's way of seeing and viewing and thinking, then they want to limit your influence or control you as an influence as much as possible. When Joseph Stalin, the dictator of the Soviet Union, when he was doing his purges, the first people he would get rid of were the artists, the people that would challenge the narrative. Even they knew the power of propaganda. They had a certain type of realism in their art. They didn't believe in the abstract expressionism, the cubism. They wanted straight realism as a part of their propaganda machine. You know, think about the fact that Picasso was so whatever that the Nazis wouldn't even touch his studio in Paris. The Nazis did not bother with Picasso. They left him alone for whatever reason. They did not touch Picasso's stuff. You know, Picasso did that powerful piece called Guernica. There was a critique on the Spanish Civil War. He was critiquing the Spanish Civil War and Franco, General Franco, who was a close ally and associate of Adolf Hitler. So it's something about the art. But like, you know, I think about what Dick Gregory told me, how he detoxed John Lennon and Yoko Ono over in Europe in his mansion, his cave mansion. And John Lennon said that the Beatles was brought over to America to get the young people hooked on drugs. The Beatles came over here, I think, in 1964. What happened in 1963? The assassination of JFK. So, you know, the Warren Commission report came out. People are still questioning the lone gunman theory. In American history, it's never a lone gun man. It's the lone gun men. It's plural. So, okay, they asked too many questions. Get them hooked on this. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, LSD. Hey Jude, heroin. LSD was a government project and product. So, okay, it said the 6 attendees were a woman and her son who lived on Paine's charity, a sympathetic Quaker man, 2 black men who walked behind the carriage to pay their respects. Why the turnout was so small? Paine's radical ideas. He wrote a book called The Age of Reason that strongly criticized organized religion. This angered many religious Americans. His political views. He publicly criticized George Washington. Because of this, many politicians viewed him as an enemy. Why the black attendees came? Historians believe Paine's 2 black attendees were freedmen who were very grateful for his work. Paine was a strong abolitionist who hated slavery and believed in equal rights for all people. There you go. Like John Brown said, if he was fighting on behalf of the privileged white population, he would be a hero instead of a villain. Thomas Paine stood out for the people that were being marginalized, and he was calling out the hypocrisy. He was doing his job as a person as far as freedom of the press and freedom of speech, and it cost him. And what y'all don't understand, if you have a well-lived life, you're supposed to make enemies. When you are living your purpose, everybody's not going to like or love you. They're not going to like and love what you do. So with that said, it's very important to understand that. It's not about popularity in the day. It's about impact. It's about legacy. So I'm moving on to the main topic. I didn't get a chance to do my 4th of July American History show. And I was going to confirm one more thing. Yes, Thomas Paine's body was dug up, shipped across the ocean, and completely lost. Today, his remains are scattered across the globe, and no one knows where most of his skeleton is. So it was okay. I'm gonna read this part. I think it's interesting. So it was a grave robbery in 1819. 10 years after Paine died, an English political writer named William Cobbett decided that Paine deserved a grand monument in his home country of England. Cobbett traveled to New Rochelle, New York, dug up Paine's bones, and shipped him back to Great Britain. Left in the trunk. Cobbett's plan completely failed. He could not raise enough money to build the monument. Instead of a grand burial, Paine's bones spent 15 years locked inside a wooden trunk in Cobbett's attic. The Great Dispersal. When Cobbett died in 1835, his property passed to a neighbor, and the trunk of bones went missing. Over the next several decades, the skeleton, this is crazy, was split up, sold, and passed around like souvenirs. Where are the bones now? The skull. The skull is rumored to have traveled to Europe and might currently be stored in a safe deposit box in Sydney, Australia, though this has never been scientifically verified. The brain. The Thomas Paine National Historical Association managed to secure a small piece of his brain and locks of his hair. The brain fragment is buried under the Paine Monument in New Rochelle, New York. The rest of the body. Dozens of rumors exist. Some urban legends claim his bones were melted down to make coat buttons. A jawbone was spotted in Brighton, and a leg bone was allegedly hidden inside the wall of an English tavern. As historians often note, the fact that his body is scattered to the four corners of the earth is fitting for a man who famously wrote, "The world is my country." So that's interesting. I didn't know about that part tonight. Thomas Paine, interesting guy. But there's no buildings, no schools, no streets, no institutions in America named for a very important founding father. So I know y'all gotta understand, like the paraphrase, I think Napoleon said, the official story is the official lie. So anyway, move on to tonight's subject. Say you wear the magic glasses as per Baba Dick Greg. I thank you for that. Let's talk about what's going on down in Mississippi. There's always something going on. I'm in backyard Mississippi. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, known as the capital of the Delta. That what Reverend C.T. Vivian told me, and that's what's true. This is the biggest city in the Mississippi Delta, and Memphis is very historic. But we all got a special connection to Mississippi. Everybody, the whole country is rooted in Mississippi. Like Malcolm X said, anything south of Canada is Mississippi. So I want to dig deep into this Nolan Wells situation. So like he was out partying with his best friends, good friends. I call frenemies, it sound like. They took a boat trip to Horn Island, which is off the coast of Mississippi. So some miles, not that many miles off the coast of Mississippi. Could only access the island via boat. So he went on a boat with some of his friends to the island for the 4th of July, the 250th anniversary of America's birth. And he was the only black guy in that boat, which is interesting. Now his friends, his good black friends, came out when they made the announcements when they would discover the body. They was there Monday, and they spoke and on social media as well. They talked about how they wasn't able to make it with him on that boat. One guy came and had to go on another boat, but he came back home. But he said, I think he said his cell phone was on the same boat as Nolan's phone, if not mistaken. But he came back home, but he said he couldn't get on that boat that Nolan was on. So he took another boat to and from the island. And there's alleged video footage of an incident of an altercation with Nolan and his buddies. They have not been verified or identified. But that happened as well, too. Let me read something. I think it's interesting. Always some white girl in the middle of something. A lot of these cases include white women or white girls, whether it be Emmett Till, Lennon Lacey in North Carolina was a white woman who was actually much older than him, who was also married. The Lennon Lacey case, we might dip into that a little bit tonight as well, too. He was also a football player, just like Nolan Wells. So let me try to find an article right quick. There's a lot of confusion with these stories because, people want to be the first and all that. But I'll read this from the Clarion Ledger. This is Mississippi's biggest paper. See, I'll get the right. Body matching missing Mississippi football players description found. This is from the Clarion Ledger by Bunny Bowden, Mississippi Clarion Ledger. Now, this is their big paper down in Mississippi. They're out of Jackson, Mississippi, I believe. Award-winning investigative journalist and MacArthur Genius Grant recipient Jerry Mitchell. He works for that paper, or he did. He's brilliant guy. I interviewed him on We All Be several times, met him in person, gave him a We All Be Lifetime Achievement Award back in 2015. Good guy. So it said a body matching the description of missing Mississippi teen Nolan Wells was found during a search on Horn Island. According to authorities, DNA identification is still pending. What we know. A Mississippi teen vanished during a July 4th trip to Horn Island. The search was officially called off on Monday morning after crews found a body on the northwest end of the island. Officials have not yet identified the person. Now, what's interesting that they keep on changing who actually found the body, because at first they said a fisherman found his body. Then the United Cajun Search and Rescue People volunteer group, I think they said they found the body, or people gave them credit for finding a body. Or then somebody said a park ranger found the body. So they keep on changing. Like Baba Dick Gregory would say, the first, narrative is not the last, it's the rough draft. So they give you several rough drafts before they come out with the official story. And like Napoleon would say, the official story is the official lie. Everybody, the powers they think they'd be agree upon. So first it was like, okay, fishermen found the body. United Cajun Search and Rescue People found the body. Park Ranger found the body. Now I guess it's a group found, I don't know. So they're like, I'm letting you know how, just look at the different rough drafts. Look at all the first breaking stories about it, how they change the narrative, like they shifting the sands on the beach. Okay. Let's see. Sheriff John Ledbetter told WLOX that a body was found during the search Monday morning. According to their reporting, a park ranger found it around 8:45 a.m. So now, what I said earlier, right? It said in the same article, see, look at you got to hide in the contradiction when it comes to critical thinking. What it say in the beginning of the article? It said the search was officially called off on Monday morning at the crews. More than one crew found a body on the northwest end of the island. Officials have not yet identified the person. Now, I just read this, right? Sheriff John Ledbetter told WLOX that a body was found during the search Monday morning. According to their reporting, a park ranger. Now, at first, earlier did not say crews. Now it say a park ranger found it around 8:45 a.m. See how it works? The games. We can't get a straight answer about who actually found the body. Illuminati, where's the body? We got the body. Who got the body? Nobody. See how it works? Okay. Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lynn confirmed to the Sun Herald that the body matches Wales' description. He said the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office has not yet identified the body through DNA testing. The search was called off according to an update from the United Cajun Navy. That's what I'm talking about. The United Cajun Navy shared around 11:20 a.m. The volunteers were helping government agencies with a search of the barrier island that included people on foot, in boats, and using planes. So all them people were trying to find this guy who disappeared after 4 p.m. on Saturday, July the 4th. It took all those people on that small island. That island ain't that big, y'all. So you got all these search teams and crews. They couldn't find that body until Monday, or a body until Monday. What's really going on? It's like, it reminds me of that Chandra Levy case, that intern that worked for that California representative who disappeared in D.C. in a park back in 2003. And they searched where she disappeared at. And then, like, I think a couple of months or a month or so later, I don't know exactly, but not that long thereafter, maybe a month or a couple of months, they found her skeletal remains in the same place they searched at. Wow, people get lost in national parks and forests. You got all these search crews and teams looking all over the place. And then a lot of times, not all the times, a lot of people end up just staying missing. They'll find the body where they initially looked at. For whatever reason, the earth coughs up the body. Not all the time, but sometimes. So I'm saying this is weird already. And Mississippi is strange anyway. I love Mississippi. Mississippi, way do our people is very strange because we don't want to acknowledge the patterns. And that's why we keep on getting messed up, because we're not learning the history. We're not observing the patterns of how they do business. We're not understanding. We don't want to overstand and understand, because knowledge is a responsibility. Knowledge, you got to hold yourself accountable, especially you are responsible, because knowledge is powerful. You know, knowledge is the currency of the universe. So even in all these contradictions, I'm reading one story, they're giving all these contradictions about who found the body. Okay. Missing teen's mother shares heartbreak. Kristen Wansley, Wells's mother, shared more information and photos in a series of social media. Let's see. I make sure I skip this. Okay, she shared, they keep on hopping around. Shared more information and photos in a series of social media posts from when he went missing until Monday afternoon. Wells, who also goes by No, which is interesting. Nolan, No. Emmett, I believe, went by Bobo. So he went by No, and Emmett went by Bobo. Who write these scripts? Was last seen on the northwest tip of Horn Island around 4:30 p.m. July the 4th. Investigators were still trying to determine when he left the island and who he was with as of Monday morning. They said he was with a white girl, a pretty young thing, a white girl. A magnolia. He was with a white girl. There's always some white girl, white woman in the mix somewhere. In a lot of these cases, always some white woman or women in the mix somewhere. Like some Othello stuff. And my thing is, people want to make everything about race. It's about human nature. Like, to paraphrase the great historian J.A. Rogers, nature knows no color line. So, I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the black and white, but it's more about the shades of gray. So anyway, see how that works. Early Monday, before the body was found, she said their hearts were broken and the family was praying he be found alive and safe. After the news about the search ending was announced, she released a statement thanking their family, friends, community, and all the law enforcement and volunteers who tried to find her son. His father, our family, friends, and I are absolutely devastated. My heart broken for my sweet son, who was always willing to cheer and uplift others. Nolan was a special soul. God took his time creating our son. I ask that you please give me and my family time to grieve, Wansley posted. College mourns Wells' death. Wells played football at Southwest Mississippi Community College. On Monday evening, President Stephen Bishop released a statement from the school. Nolan was an exemplary student, athlete, friend, and teammate. We remember Nolan as a well-respected young man who was very popular among friends, faculty, and staff. We loved Nolan, and he will be greatly missed in many ways, Bishop wrote. He said Wells's friends, fellow students, and teammates will have access to professional counselors and ministers. Okay, Search teams comb Allen by air, land, and water. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, National Park Service workers at Gulf Islands National Seashore, and the U.S. Coast Guard helped with the search. According to the sheriff's office, the United Cajun Navy and other volunteers also worked to find whales. The JCSO's command post was at the Lake Mars boat launch, 1200 Lake Mars Avenue, Ocean Springs. It said how to contact investigators. Anyone with information can call the Jackson County Sheriff's Office at 228-769-3063. Once again, that's 228-769-3063. Now, what's interesting is that the young men or boys that Nolan Wells were with, they were able to bring his cell phone back, but not him. And from my understanding, according to social media and people, I don't know what to believe, but I feel like there's some merit in it that the young men have gotten lawyered up since the situation has went south. So they got lawyered up. They have deactivated or privatized their social media presence. One of the boys allegedly has a parent, step-parent, whatever, a mother or stepmother who's a judge. So that means they got political connections. Probably got other resources at their disposal. Looking at the pictures of Nolan with these boys, you can tell these boys are well off, well nourished, well connected, just based on the pictures. And people saying, well, why he feels so comfortable around those boys? Maybe because he lived in a neighborhood, the same neighborhood as those boys. And Mississippi is interesting to me. People got this thing about Mississippi. I love Mississippi. My people from Mississippi, my mama's people come on Mississippi, Mississippi Delta, stuff like that. I love Mississippi. Mississippi is a beautiful place, but it's a land of a lot of contradictions. You got some parts of Mississippi very rural, very poor. You got other parts of Mississippi very urban, very wealthy, very attractive. Mississippi is a tale of two countries. It's the two Americas in one. Extreme poverty, but also extreme brilliance. A lot of brilliant, innovative, iconic people come out of Mississippi, are from Mississippi. Black, white, yellow doesn't make a difference. A lot of brilliant people come out of Mississippi. The founder of FedEx, Fred Smith, he's from Mississippi. Think about Oprah Winfrey. She was born in Mississippi. Aretha Franklin, her parents are both from Mississippi. She was born in Memphis, raised in Detroit. Some of the greatest football players in history, Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, Brett Favre, Steve McNair. A lot of others are from Mississippi. Leontine Price, the famous opera singer, brilliant black opera singer, from Mississippi. I believe he's from Laurel, Mississippi. Olympians, all types of innovators, brilliant people. Some of the greatest writers and playwrights. Tennessee Williams, Columbus, Mississippi. William Faulkner, who said the past is never past. Mississippi. So put some respect on Mississippi's name. Medgar Evers, come on, Charles Evers. Mississippi is incredible. But yet you got all these extremes. And it really is a mirror to America. I mean, Mississippi is the root of America. Everything come out of Mississippi. Like Malcolm said, anything south of Canada is Mississippi. So I'm not afraid of Mississippi like a lot of people. My thing is, be honest with you, Arkansas is more gangster to me in a lot of ways than Mississippi, because Arkansas be doing Mississippi stuff, but they know how to hide it better. Arkansas can hide their stuff better than Mississippi. Mississippi is more honest about their stuff. Understand? But anyway, getting back to what I'm saying, same old story. It's not just about race. It's about power and privilege and access. Thing about it is, what if they had social media in Emmett Till's day? What if they had social media back in 1955? how would an Emmett Till case played out? Because a lot of us think we know about the Emmett Till case. You got this dude named Matt Walsh pulling stuff out his assets, something like he was there, like he time traveled back to August of 1955. He had like he knows what happened at Bryant's store on that Wednesday in 1955, August 1955. He act like he was there. And white folks do that. They want to talk. They present the, I'm white and I say so. That's why it is what it is. I'm the most honest man in America. And I talk like this because I'm white and I say so, and I have privilege and I have respect, and I earned everything that I have. I was never given a handout, nor a hand up. I am who I am. They talk like that, but the Emmett Till story is interesting. And I'm gonna, connect this Emmett Till with this brother Nolan. I'm gonna make sure I told y'all Emmett Till name was Bobo. I can't trust Phil, man. I love Phil, but Phil can't be trusted. He's just like people, man. I can't, he's like an addict. I can't trust him, man. I love him, but I can't trust him. Yes, that is correct. Emmett Till's family and friends call him Bobo. So you got a dude named Nolan named Bobo. That's his nickname. Now, Nolan's name, No. Excuse me. His nickname was No. Emmett's nickname was Bobo. And they both said they had charisma, very well liked, dressed well, had confidence in themselves. And it wouldn't surprise me that some of his friends were very jealous of the brother. The brother was well put together, right? Tall, dark, and handsome. You could tell he had a winning smile, a winning personality. Just, listening to his friends talk about him or reading what his mama had to say. It said this brother was not given a chance to be all that he should be. I mean, his life was taken from him. He was robbed. And it reminds me of the Kendrick Johnson case down in Valdosta, Georgia. The brother was found wrapped up in a gym mat at the high school. High school had cameras everywhere, but he was at that gym. The cameras wasn't working or was pointed the other way. Why have all these cameras and stuff never work? And then why have cameras and then when we get the video, it was all grainy? Why does the Zapruder film of the JFK assassination looks better than Carmelo Anthony's camera at the track meet? Where they said Carmelo, I don't know what's going on. It's like they're using graphics from Nintendo. It's like it's Tecmo Ball. I can't see. I don't know. It's little dots like Atari or something. Why we got video in 2026 looking like Atari from 1980 something? But anyway, I digress. But there was no cameras working in that gym. Kendrick Johnson was also a football player, if I'm not mistaken. And the girls was into him. He was a handsome guy. He had his locks, whatever. And allegedly there was some tension between him and these brothers, white boys. Just some good old boys. I think they were football players too. Interesting. And a lot of people think, or some people think, including the parents of Kendrick Johnson. I actually interviewed the parents of Kendrick Johnson on my show, as well as their lawyer at the time. Some years ago, I'm going to re-upload that video and make it circle around again because we need justice for Kendrick Johnson. This is like a never-ending story with black folks, right? Never-ending story. But allegedly, they got mad at him because girls were choosing him. From my understanding, that's one perspective on the story. The women, they was into a girl or whatever, and the women were into him. The girls at the school, your kid chose me. Like he was a Mac, he was well liked, but guess what? Allegedly got to fight with these brothers. They snuffed him out, rolled him up in the gym mat, and people trying to justify that. He fell into the gym mat trying to get his shoes, whatever. They exhumed that man's body or that boy. He was not a man. I'm sorry. We always want to victimize our victims again. These were boys, teens. These were not grown men. Emmett Till was just 14. Tamir Rice was just 12. Baby Coleman was just 1 year old. He wasn't a toddler. They always try to make black boys older to justify, well, they was a threat. If he's a man, he's aggressive. All that testosterone. And you know, all what testosterone? You got us all soiled baby up, got all this soy everything. That's another story, another show for another day. All this soy everywhere, my boy. But anyway, their father, from my understanding, the brothers who had issues, white brothers who had issues with Kendrick, their father was Georgia Bureau of Investigation. He was GBI. That's like the state's, you know, version of the FBI. So their father had political clout connection that he could shield his boys from any suspicion, even though the streets and the school was talking about their alleged involvement in possibly, you know, neutralizing Kendrick. Nobody never ever touched him. And they was able to go on. I think they end up playing football in college, whatever they do. But I'm saying this is the same old, same old. Nothing changed. It's about power, privilege, access, connections. Not just race, but when you throw in race, the black race, black lives don't matter when it comes to white power. Black lives don't matter when it comes to white power. So, and I told you what white power is: divide and conquer. So the thing about it is, imagine if the white boys were black boys and that Nolan was a white boy. Imagine if the 3 black boys came back from the island with no white boy. How you think they would have gotten treated? Matter of fact, you don't even have to think that hard. Go back to the Central Park 5-7 thing. Y'all been traumatized by it through Netflix again. I saw it play out kind of in real time because I used to love watching Dateline and Nightline when I was growing up as a kid. So I was familiar with the case back in the 90s. A lot of y'all didn't get familiar with it until Netflix put out their narrative in 2019. And y'all think Trump was the monster that caused it all. So that's why I don't play with the propaganda, the mind tricks, the games. Start studying seriously. But go back even to Scottsboro boys. A lot of y'all don't know about the Scottsboro boys. In Alabama, these boys was hopping on trains back in the 30s. They were from Tennessee, I believe maybe Chattanooga. They were looking for jobs during the Great Depression. Got into a fight with these white boys, a gang of white boys with some white girls, some white prostitutes on the train with the white boys and the Scottsboro boys. Then the white girls were warned about being prostitutes. So instead of them owning to the fact that they are prostitutes, they lied like the black boys took advantage of them. Then you hit the Scottsboro case of the 1930s. And I actually went to Scottsboro, Alabama, when the governor of Alabama exonerated the Scottsboro boys back in 2013, but they've been dead for decades. And their lives were impacted, their families. It is sad. Look at the Scottsboro boys. Well, I'm saying one of the white prostitutes ended up recanting her story. The reason why they lied on the boys because they were doing what they do. They were prostitutes. They were sleeping around and all this stuff. They were trying to protect themselves. And, you know, people would justify lynchings. Getting back to Joseph Smith, the reason why they lynched Joseph Smith, the founder of the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, is the same reason why they lynch a lot of black people, in particular black men. Political power, economic power. He was a political threat because, you know, he was running for president at the time. He had clout locally. Also, he's an economic threat. So that's why a lot of black people, in particular black men, were lynched, not because they were criminals, but because they dare to dream and to actually be in control of their lives, called self-determination. That is what happened. So getting back, connect the dots, the Nolan situation, it's going to be interesting because the family got Ben Crump to represent them. I don't know what people expect from Ben Crump. I really don't. People be hating on Ben Crump. They don't like how he look and how he sounds and how he does his business, but he's effective at what he does. He's a civil settlement person. He's not a trial lawyer. He's not Johnny Cochran. He's not Willie Gary. From my understanding, he was trained by Willie Gary. Let me look that up. I don't want to get out the wrong information. Okay. Ben Crump was not directly trained by Willie Gary as an employee or protege. However, Gary played a direct role in launching Crump's legal career by acting as a sponsor and mentor during Crump's earliest days as a newly minted lawyer. Okay, when Crump and his partner Daryl Parks took their bar exams in 95, Parks clerked for Willie Gary. Needing money to attend their first National Bar Association convention, Crump and Parks approached Gary, who then sponsored both of them, to attend the event. Crump went on to cite Gary as a major civil rights inspiration and leader who shaped his path. Now, Willie Gary, they did the movies several years ago, not that long ago, featuring Jamie Foxx as Willie Gary on Amazon Prime, and Tom Lee Jones plays his client. Willie Gary got some of the largest civil settlements in U.S. judicial history. That man is the GOAT. Okay. Make sure I'm going to verify. If only I had Field I could depend on. I can't depend on him. Willie Gary earned the nickname the Giant Killer by winning some of the largest jury verdicts and settlements in American history. Over his career, his firm secured more than 150 verdicts, mind you, or settlements worth at least $1 million each, with several landmark corporate battles crossing into 9 and 10 figures. His most notable record-breaking case results include, $23.6 billion, R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, 2014. A Florida jury awarded this massive sum in a punitive damages wrongful death lawsuit against Big Tobacco. While it made him known as the $24 billion man, the astronomical verdict was later overturned on appeal. Wow, the fact that almost $24 billion basically got overturned on appeal, but that's impressive. That's a black man that did that. How they going to erase us from history? We got to learn our history. We got to learn American history, because American history is black history. You can't get rid of it. So he got a $500 million settlement, the Lowen Group, 95. Gary won this historic contract breach verdict for a Mississippi funeral home owner against a massive Canadian funeral conglomerate. Lowen ultimately settled the case for $175 million to avoid bankruptcy, a legal battle later dramatized in the movie The Burial. That's the movie based on Willie Gary that starred Jamie Foxx as Willie Gary and Tommy Lee Jones as his client. Then he got the $240 million, the Walt Disney Company, 2000, it's back in 2000, alongside Johnny Cochran, another one of our GOATs. Gary convinced a jury that Disney stole his client's architectural concepts for the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex. Wow. Then it's $139.6 million Anheuser-Busch back in 2001. He secured a major breach of contract verdict against the world's largest brewer on behalf of the family of baseball legend, Roger Maris. Y'all know who Roger Maris was? He was a guy that played for the Yankees back in the 1960s. He broke Babe Ruth's home run record for a season. He had like 61 home runs in one season. And they dramatized this chase in the HBO movie. Pretty good movie. I think it was directed by Billy Crystal. Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle was going at it too, but he ended up falling short and Roger got it. Then eventually that was broken by Mark McGuire and then Barry Bonds, right? But that's interesting. I didn't know about that. And he also owns a private plane. He owns a private jet, I believe. I'm gonna make sure that's right. We always talking about black people. See, a lot of us, why is Willie Gary not a household name for black people? Okay, Willie Gary has owned multiple private jets, most famously a custom-designed Boeing 737 nicknamed Wings of Justice 2. All right, but that's basically that sponsor. He sponsored Ben Crump's career. Ben Crump's doing his thing the best he know how, but he's not a Johnny Cochran. He's a Ben Crump. Ain't nothing wrong with being Ben Crump, but he's the guy that black families around the country call when they want to get some money. And unfortunately, no matter No amount of money will ever bring back Brother Nolan. That's a no-no. He's never coming back like that. But we can make sure to say his name, support the family, and also support the search for justice. That's very important. And I guess we're gonna take a break, not a break, but I'm gonna play some video. Cause I want y'all to do a practice that Baba Dick Gregory told me about. And for the most part, it helps me. You know, God works in mysterious ways, you know what I'm saying? It helps me, but I wanna, get that out there. And this is We All Be, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. It's your brother Ron, R2C2H2, the artivist. Get y'all hip to this. I don't know. I am weird. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm an acquired taste. I know that, but at least I love myself. It don't make a difference if y'all like or love me or hate me. As long as I love myself, I'm good. And I'm doing one. Nope, that's not the right one. And we are in a Mercury retrograde. But I wanna time be flying, man. I want to make sure I get through all my talking points. I can always do a part 2, right? Oh, y'all want me to go talk for 6 hours? I ain't gonna talk for 6 hours. But this is what y'all can do if y'all feeling blue, don't know what to do. Always pray at noon. We all be. Greetings, family. This is Brother Ron, your brother, R2C2H2, the artivist. Today's date is Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. A little bit after noon. After 12. My Jegna, Baba Dick Gregory, would always say, if you want to know the truth about anything or anyone, pray at noon for the truth to come out. Well, I'm at the grave of Sister Thea. This is Thea's place. Saint Thea Bowman, soon to be Saint Thea Bowman. She is a daughter of Mississippi. She was born, raised, and she died in Mississippi, but she's buried in Memphis, which is the capital of the Mississippi Delta as far as I'm concerned. But I'm here today to make a request of her and of the Most High for the truth to come out about what happened to a native son of Mississippi, Nolan Xavier Wells. But not only him, but also the other strange fruits of Mississippi. People like Otis Byrd. Let's say Otis Byrd, right. Frederick Jermaine Carter. Baby Cohen Wiley. May the truth come out. I'm asking for this righteous ancestor, along with the Most High, Universal God, to intervene on our behalf. The ancestors are very restless in this period, folks. They are also disappointed in us because we did not, as they say, bury the man and continue to plan. We are too busy reacting instead of being revolutionary. Need to be more strategic than panic. But I pray to the Most High with the help of Saint Thea at Thea's place for that truth to come out about everything. Amen. Ra. God bless everybody. But know that the truth will come out. I know humane salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. I am most deaf that Brother Michael King Jr. said, Dr. Michael King Jr., those who know. Those who don't, Google is your friend. All right, y'all take care. God bless everybody. Until the next time, the marathon continues. Keep on producing and pushing, and we love you madly.
My blue.
Yes, pray at noon. Focus wherever you at. If you want the truth to come out about anything, pray at noon. I mean, I normally pray for one thing once. I don't keep on praying. I just do it one time. And the truth is slowly making its rounds, of course, but lies travel faster than the truth back in the day and today. So with that said, just be patient and ask for the spirit of discernment. Like, people are focused on color right now, black and white. I'm more focused on color of discernment and color of character at this point where we find ourselves. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at a person's appearance. I'm looking at a person's integrity. So with that said, I mentioned something in there. This is like echoes of Frederick Jermaine Carter case and also the Otis Byrd case. I covered that back in 2015. This was a black man found hanging from a tree at his home. But like I said before, people searched his home, his property. He wasn't hanging from a tree. I think he disappeared. He went to a casino, I believe in Vicksburg. And he disappeared and people couldn't find him. Next thing you know, he's hanging from his tree, but he wasn't hanging from the tree. And they say, oh, he just did it to himself. That's what they do. There's a problem I had with Sandra Bland because they said that she, took herself out of here, right? We all saw that booking photo. She was dead in that picture. Like they were holding her eyes up. They taped her eyes open. The energy felt off in that picture. She may have died. They could have, unalive her, as y'all say, or deleted her, but also she could have maybe died from natural causes because she had a seizure, like epileptic fit. I don't know if she had a history of epilepsy or nothing like that. It's not excusing how she ended up dead, but a lot of things could have happened. They could have panicked and they could have she killed herself. But the thing about it is, we don't think critical. We so emotional. They claim that she hung herself with a garbage bag. Do anybody know the brand of garbage bag? Was the garbage bag that they said she used to hang herself with, was it ever a strength test? Did they do a strength test on said garbage bag? This is why we know black folk, we don't have no friends. Because if we had friends, we'd had people institute resources looking into cases like Sandra Bland and coming most likely to a different conclusion than the official story, because the official story is the official lie agreed upon, as far as I'm concerned. But I want to play this thing I did back in the day about Otis Byrd. Back in 2015, did a segment on my show. That case bothers me. Don't really bother me, but I think about that case ever so often because I look at the patterns. Like, people don't understand, everything runs on patterns. Like, Nolan ain't new. What happened to brother Nolan is not a new phenomenon. It's been happening. It's like we living in Groundhog Day mode. It's continually to happen because we don't want to deal with the truth of the matter. We really don't want the responsibility of what needs to be done as a collective to stop this stuff once and for all. We don't really want to go there. I know we don't want to go there. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Sometimes frenemies, right? We frenemies, right? So with that said, I'm going to play this. I'm going to come back. I'm trying to fit all this stuff in and I could talk, as y'all can see. But this is We All Be, and I'm glad to be doing the people's work. Man, but it's crazy. God be with us all. God be with us all. But it needs to be done. But also I want to provide historical context. Yeah, I would like to get a lot of views and maybe go viral every once in a while. But I've been consistent and sometimes steady as she goes. So we're going to play this Otis Byrd the video I did back in 2015. See how
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News. News-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Welcome, family, to another wonderful edutainment edition of the Artivist Thinks. Today's show, I'll talk about the Otis Byrd hanging, lynching, suicide, whatever you want to call it, that happened in Mississippi last March. His body was discovered after being missing for several days. Otis Byrd, who was 54 years old, he did about 25 years in prison for murdering a white woman named Lucille Trim, who owned a country grocery store, I believe, for $101 of all things. He spent like 25 years in jail, was paroled in 2006. By all accounts, he did not get in trouble, kept to himself. Allegedly, he was dropped out at a casino on March 2nd. Allegedly, he was dropped out at a casino on March the 2nd and was not seen and was reported missing on March the 8th. And his body was found a couple weeks later near his home. And this is a couple questions I want to ask, or somebody need to answer for me if they can. It's a couple of things, because I actually have done investigating into a hanging case in Mississippi several years ago. It concerned a young black man named Frederick Jermaine Carter, who was found hanging from a tree in Greenwood, Mississippi, in LaFleur County, back in December of 2010. And his case was ruled a suicide, although he was found in a majority white neighborhood. And the coroner said that he was dead for at least, I believe, 24 to 48 hours. But people who would normally walk back there's a dog kennel back there as well. So people would normally walk that area in the woods, which is near a white neighborhood. They didn't see anybody hanging from the tree that morning. His body was not discovered hanging until that noon, around noontime, around 12 o'clock, 12:30. So that's very strange. And they said that was a suicide, although he was missing for about, I believe, 2 days. He was reported missing. But I got all that. You can go to our YouTube channel and check out some of the stuff I did with Frederick Jermaine Carter. I interviewed the county sheriff, the DA, the county coroner, his family, and other people as well who were involved in the investigation of that tragic case. And I still don't believe to this day that it was a suicide, because it just don't make any sense. But even with Otis Byrd, they say they found him hanging from a tree near his home. He was hanging with a bed sheet around his neck from a tree badly decomposed. And I asked this, how come nobody was able to spot that body hanging behind his home? Why did the family? My thing is thinking that's common sense. I don't know what happened with the family or friends. I'll be searching the property as well. It's like his body would have came up before it came up, later in the month. It's like would have came up earlier if he was just hanging from that tree in the back of his home. And also, there's a couple of things. Now, he went to jail for capital murder. He was convicted of capital murder. He killed a white woman named Lucille Trim, who owned a country grocery store. Now, what's interesting is that this is Mississippi. And for him to kill a white woman and get out of jail almost 30 years later is kind of interesting, because it's Mississippi. Because normally, if you are a person in a capital trial in Mississippi and they find you guilty, you probably will stay in jail for life or probably get on death row. There's a case of a guy named Curtis Flowers who had 6 trials on the same evidence. It was a capital murder trial. They say he killed 4 people at his former employer's place back in the late 90s, but there's no evidence connecting him to the scene of crime. Everything's circumstantial. They used the same evidence. They had the 6 trials in different locations throughout Mississippi. The trial, the verdicts have been overturned several times, why they had so many retrials. So this guy's on death row, basically with no evidence connecting him to the scene of crime. And yet, they proved that this guy killed this white lady, and he was able to get out of prison in Mississippi 25 years later. Now, what is interesting, I want to point out, is the fact that this lady has a daughter who lives in Virginia,
retired Air Force, and we get it right. I believe she actually ran for Congress as a Republican candidate in Virginia back in 2006, the same year they let out brother Otis Byrd. Let me get it right. It's good to have internet and smartphones. And let me get her name right here. Yes, retired Air Force Major General Martha Ranville. That was her mother, Lucille Trim, who was killed by Otis Byrd. Martha Ranville, a retired Air Force Major General and 2006 Republican congressional candidate in Vermont. I said Virginia, I meant Vermont, the other V state. Ranville is married to Paul McHale, the former Democratic congressman from Pennsylvania. Let me read that part once again so y'all understand. Lucille Trim's daughter, Lucille Trim is of course the victim of Otis Byrd, is Martha Ranville, a retired Air Force Major General and 2006 Republican congressional candidate in Vermont. 2006, the same year that Otis Byrd was paroled. Ranville is married to Paul McHale, the former Democratic congressman from Pennsylvania. This is her, Air Force, all that stuff. Well, you know. And what does that mean? I don't know what it means. But information is power. It's good to know things like this. To me, it means that, well, we know she's well connected. Lucille Trim was not just anybody or nobody. She was somebody who had a family that was accomplished. They had a lot of political connections. You know, there's something to think about. And that's all I'm saying. You know, let's think about certain things. Let's think outside of what we think we know and use our imagination more to discover things we need to know. So, with the Otis Byrd thing, it is funny to me all these black men being killed or found hanging in trees are all suicides. Like in Mississippi, they have yet to prove that a black man did not hang himself. Since Emmett Till, it's like since Emmett Till, that all the black folks that have been finding hanging from trees in Mississippi have been suicides. You know, the only time, you know, it's just fascinating to me. Something to think about. You know, Mississippi at one point was having a lot of hanging deaths in the jail cells. That was recently. That was back in the 80s. They had a whole bunch of black men found hanging in their jail cells. Then you also got Raynard Johnson and a couple other people. You got, like I said, Frederick Jermaine Carter. There's so many brothers been found hanging in trees in Mississippi, and they all been ruled suicides. You got brothers like the brother who was a top football prospect in Mississippi who was killed at a traffic stop with his own shotgun, supposedly. You know, and people, my thing is this, is black folks. A lot of this stuff we gotta think about. Why does this stuff keep on happening to us as a people? Why these things keep on occurring? What are the lessons that we are missing in these things? Or why are we failing to learn? You know, people always use that biblical passage. A lot of black folks I know, very religious, good people, they always say, you know, the last will be first and the first will be last. But what if you are the first people on the planet? Why are you the original people? You know, we was first at one time when we were kings and queens and stuff like that. And now we're paying the price for being first. You ever thought about that? You know, anybody ever think about that? You know, something food for thought. But concerning the Otis Byrd case, let's go online and look this stuff up. This is very interesting. I wanted, was she questioned at all or made aware when this happened about Otis Byrd? I mean, I don't know the history. I don't know. But this is some crazy stuff going on. But there's something to think about. I mean, I don't know too many black men that were able to walk, you know, out of Mississippi a free person after killing a white person. You know, convicted in a capital crime, right? You know, killed her for $101. He actually was robbing her to pay off some type of fine he had of $10, I believe, from a previous crime. That's what they saying. But also, you see, it's funny. As soon as they found him hanging from a tree, they had to pull up his criminal past. You know, like, you know, he doesn't have a right to be thought of or be. People shouldn't feel compassion or empathy for this guy because he's a felon. He's an ex-con. You know, they only do that with black people, I see. You know, I don't know anybody living today that have not committed a sin. You know, if they say we are born into sin, how can you be innocent of anything? Surely we all are guilty of something. That's what I'm saying. So the way this man died was not right. It's unfortunate that, you know, black folks, we keep on dying and we keep on not realizing that we really need to start making demands, that we really need to start organizing among ourselves. We really need to start controlling the narrative of our stories and getting the word out what's going on with our people. Because right now, we are in a war. A war over ideas, ideology, a war over culture, a war just being, a war over your existence. So with that said, family, I want to thank you all for listening. If you like what you heard, feel free to subscribe. Donate to We All Be, because we're going to take it to the next level. Tell your friends. Contribute your thoughts in the comment section below. And also make sure you check out the work I did on the Frederick Jermaine Carter case. And you'll see why I'm so concerned about this stuff. But also I realize the games. So in the words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing. And keep on thinking.
And guess who's back? That's the Otis Byrd situation. Now I mentioned, you know, AI is interesting. Like they've been doing a lot of cleanup on certain things. I want to read an article about Otis Byrd. And put up a picture of this brother. You know, it is interesting. You know, capital murder case. He was able to walk free out of Mississippi 25 years later. Then a few years after that, almost 10 years later, he's found dead under questionable circumstances. And my thing is, I'm looking at the daughter and the son-in-law. They're very well connected politically, but the Google AI, they want to downplay that, you know, which is fascinating. It really is, folks. But I want to read this article from The Guardian that came out that year. Came out back in April of 2015. This picture of Otis. Man, life is interesting. But yeah, but this is We All Be News-Free Dixie for the 21st century. You know, we have a responsibility as content creators, as news people, investigative journalists, whatever, to really give y'all the information y'all can use to help amplify the things that need to be amplified. You know, like I could easily go lives and whatever people do for clicks and likes and reshares and retweets and stuff. But I want to make sure I hold myself to a higher standard of being accountable to the people in terms of giving y'all the correct information. I think it's very important. That's why I get frustrated when I get things wrong, not because I'm trying to mislead people, but because it's important to give people the right information. So the picture of Otis Byrd, he was 54 when he got killed. I don't know if he unalived himself, whatever. As y'all like to say. So I'm reading this from The Guardian, April the 8th, 2015. It said, Mississippi hanging victim Otis Byrd's family says incident was not a suicide. After receiving the FBI's autopsy last month, Otis Byrd's family has asked Michael Baden, or Biden, no, Biden, you know what I'm talking, the famous autopsy guy, did Medgar Evers' exhumation and autopsy, you know, that guy, who conducted an independent autopsy of Michael Brown to investigate. So asked Michael Baden, or Baden, whatever. Y'all know who I'm talking about. The family of Otis Byrd, the 54-year-old man found hanging from a tree last month in western Mississippi, believes the hanging was not a suicide and is opening an independent investigation of the case, lawyers for the family said at a news conference on Wednesday. The family has asked for NAACP participation in the case, and as part of its investigation, has hired the pathologist Michael Baden, who was also called to perform an independent autopsy on Michael Brown, the black teenager shot dead by a police officer last August in Ferguson, Missouri. At this point, the family believes that it was not a suicide, said Dennis C. Sweet, a lawyer for the family, at an appearance in Jackson, Mississippi.
Byrd's body was found hanging from a tree near his home in Claiborne County by state wildlife officers on March 19th. 30 federal agents were dispatched to investigate the case as a potential lynching. The FBI reportedly shared autopsy results with the family last month, but the results of the autopsy are unknown to the public. Sweet declined to comment on the conclusion of the autopsy shared with the family. At this stage, I don't believe we can go into it, Sweet said. Biden's work will be hindered by the fact that Byrd was cremated. So they cremated the man's body. Wow. He is disappointed that the body was cremated, Sweet said. They don't feel they have all the answers they need at this point, Sweet said of the family. What the family wants to relay is that they do want to take legal action. Sweet said his firm was working with the NAACP on the case. He said the family did not have plans to file a lawsuit. All everybody wants is a transparent answer to what happened, another family representative at the news conference said. As private citizens, to make sure all the information that was gathered is revealed. Byrd was found hanging by a bed sheet from a limb about 12 feet high, with his feet about 2 feet off the ground, and his hands were not bound, according to authorities. Byrd was on parole after serving 26 years in prison for the murder of a woman during a 1980 robbery. All right, y'all. I read what I read. Here's the thing that stands out. You want Michael Biden, this world famous pathologist, brilliant guy, the guy who did the autopsy on Medgar Wiley Evers, do autopsy on your loved one's ashes? Do an autopsy? Well, who bright idea was to cremate him? And how much were they paid to get him cremated? Allegedly, I don't know. I'm just saying. That's interest. They were concerned. To me, if you were concerned about what really happened to him, I would do my best to make sure the funeral home would preserve his body where we can hopefully get answers to that question one day, even if it had to be exhumed. Yeah, I think it's paid back too. Because I mean, it's weird that a guy was able to get out of Mississippi for killing a white woman. This is 1980 Mississippi. Think about Emmett Till. Look what they did to Emmett Till for allegedly whistling at a white woman. They used to put black folks in mental institutions, if not worse, for looking white folks in the eye for not getting off the sidewalks for white babies to pass by. So 1980 Mississippi, this dude killed this woman. This woman's family is well connected politically. Maybe not at that time, but I think at that time. But even like with white people, even if it take them generations to get back, they're going to get back. I'm not saying that would happen, but I'm just thinking about it's just interesting, man. Because, you know, they ain't searched his home before then. He wasn't on the premises hanging from a bed sheet on a 12-foot limb then, 2 feet out the ground. 54-year-old black man, he climbed that tree, whatever. I mean, come on, man. And yet, Mississippi long-serving congressperson Benny Thompson, Mississippi at one point, I don't know if it's true now, had more elected black officials than any state in the union. I don't know if it's true now, but I can look it up. But the fact that you have all those elected politicians, I mean, Fan Lou Hamer and them took all them beatings, all that disrespect for black elected officials not to really do their jobs in terms of what happens to their constituents. Even with this guy, him being a con, him doing what he did, I mean, he paid his debt. I mean, he spent almost 30 years of his life, of his prime in prison. You know, I just don't buy the story of suicide, but who bright idea in the family was it to cremate his remains? And then you question what happened to him. My mind would be to preserve, like even with Medgar Evers, when Michael Biden did Medgar Evers' body, I remember seeing the HBO documentary where they featured the Medgar Evers case, because that led to getting Byron Day LeBeck, with the assassin of Medgar Evers, convicted and put in prison. That what that eventually led to. The movie Ghosts of Mississippi is about that. Rob Reiner's film. Rob Reiner, it's really crazy they didn't really salute that film in the tribute for Rob Reiner at the Oscars. That was really a film, from my understanding, he took a lot of care to make because his family, his father and his family really respected Medgar Evers. And according to him, the family broke down in tears when they found out the news about Medgar Evers being assassinated in Mississippi. Medgar Evers was one of Dick Gregory's best friends. Dick Gregory was going to Mississippi to die with Medgar. And Medgar said, "You got to go back home, man. You just lost your son." That's when Dick Gregory Jr. died. And Lil called the Medgar home to inform Medgar and tell Dick. And Medgar said, "You can't, you got to go home and be with your family." So Dick, according to him, said he knew that was going to be the last time he would see Medgar Evers alive. But stuff is deep, man. But I'm not buying that it was a suicide. And it's like you got people that will access the grind and stuff like that. And I just want to put that out there. And I'm trying to find an article because the Google AI is playing games. They don't want to talk about his victims' family connections to the government. See if I can find one from back in the day. I talked about it. They trying to see how I can read through it. It's very important, man. Start saving, backing up this information because the internet may not always be around, especially what they're trying to do because they're scrubbing the internet of information. And I can really speak to that for myself because when I talk about the Frederick Jermaine Carter case, I was the only organization or entity to do an investigation into what happened to Frederick Jermaine Carter. And I interviewed the state's medical examiner at the time, Dr. Adele Shaker. I interviewed the coroner who took down his body or whatever, that took it to the morgue, whatever, of LaFleur County. I interviewed the sheriff of LaFleur County, Ricky Banks, the DA, all these people. And I put it out on YouTube, and YouTube removed those videos. Those videos been out there for years. My thing was I was creating a paper trail for future whatever reference, because that case was really sabotaged. I'm going to talk about that case tonight as a part of what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is YouTube removed all of those videos. Even the video of me at the crime scene with State Senator David Jordan, State Rep Willie Perkins, who also was the president of LaFleur County NACP, Dr. Howard Creasy, who was the national president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Frederick Jermaine Carter's mom, his stepfather, Lowell Evans, his mom, Brenda Carter Evans, their lawyer at the time, Valerie Hicks Poe, and some other people. I was back there, and it was spooky being back there in the middle of the day, even with police escorting VIPs. I did not feel safe being back there. But they removed all those videos because they claimed that I violated their self-harm policy when I was trying to say, hey, this wasn't a self-deletion. I was saying that this was foul play that needed to be further investigated. But I want to roll back to the Otis Byrd thing. I think is important to find this. Let's see. I'm gonna look up the victim. I said it in my video, right? I talked about their political and military connections, but I want to just repeat it. I'll tell you, type it up. Like I said, I wish I could depend on Phil. I can't depend on him. I think I found the Daily Mail. They might say it because overseas have a different look. Okay. I'm trying to look it up. They said the body was found hanging by a bed sheet from a tree limb about 12 feet high, and that the man's feet were dangling about 2 feet off the ground, and the hands on the body were not bound. Okay. Interesting. I'm just trying to look this up. I think it's important. Yeah, this is interesting. All right. Here it goes. It says Trim, his victim, is the mother of Martha Ranville, who was the first woman in history of the National Guard to serve as state adjutant general. She became the adjutant. Because they keep on misspelling it. It said adjutant, then it said adjutant general in Vermont. Oh, okay. In Vermont in 97, and currently lives in Virginia with her husband, the Honorable Paul Bickel. Bickel is a former Pennsylvania congressman and assistant secretary of defense. Though that's her daughter, that's her son-in-law, this woman that was murdered by Otis Byrd back in 1980. They got all type of military, Pentagon, and federal government ties. I rest my case. I'm not saying, I'm just like, come on, y'all. Connect the dots. It is what it is. That man did not hang himself. He did not. Matter of fact, I'm gonna read what the guy who owns the land he was living on where they found his body. Oh man, stuff is crazy. Okay, like Vicksburg Police Chief Walter Armstrong said that after local authorities asked his department to check on a report that Byrd had been seen at a casino, video surveillance was recovered showing Byrd at the Riverwalk Casino on March the 2nd. We didn't see anything of significance on the tape. He was just walking around the casino. We did not see him after that, Armstrong said. The body was found by state wildlife officers. It had obvious sign of decomposition, suggesting that it had been hanging in the woods for some time. If they did searches of the guy, or did they try to search for the guy? Because it was found near his home. If a guy was missing, one of the first places I'll go is go to his home and see what was going on at the home. So they mean they couldn't find his body been decomposing. Maybe he was killed somewhere else and he was brought there. Maybe they made sure enough time has went by where they couldn't tell the actual cause of death and they decided to string him up. Don't think that people don't think like that. People are very dark and sinister when they have to be. He said the body was found by state wildlife officers and had obvious signs of decomposition, suggesting that it had been hanging in the woods for some time, said Jim Walker, spokesman for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. The owner of the land, 87-year-old Johnny Baker, said that the area where Byrd's body was found is covered in pecan and black walnut trees. He added that hunters sometimes hunt in the area and that there are also wild boars, wild pigs, on the land. However, the NAACP is petitioning to have the U.S. Department of Justice involved in the investigation, fearing Byrd's death may have been a hate crime. Byrd spent 25 years in prison for the murder of Lucille Trim, the Clarion Ledger reported, according to the Mississippi Department of Corrections. He allegedly robbed Trim of $101 and then killed her. He was convicted of capital murder in February 1980 and then was paroled in November 2006. And I already said, there you go. That's weird that he was able to get out of Mississippi like that. Capital murder. You killed this woman in cold blood for $101. And he was able to get out. But he didn't get away. That's just some other stuff. That's off the book. That's my unforgiveness type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I'm not saying that he was a saint, but I just think it's interesting that they can't come clean and say, hey, you know, hey, man, the big payback, allegedly. But I'm just saying, when y'all think about cases, even with the Nolan situation, the fact that one of the boys' parents is a judge, that implies institutional access and protection. The fact that they are able to lawyer up and not even be brought in, I don't know if they've been brought in for questioning or whatever, but the fact they could do that. It's like when this billionaire heiress jogger disappeared, was kidnapped and violated and deleted in Memphis. She was jogging, you know, she got kidnapped and she got assaulted and got murdered. Everybody was looking at her husband. One of the first things the husband did was get lawyered up. He said, nah, y'all can't, y'all speak to my lawyers. You ain't speaking to me. Because that's normal in any case like that, is that a lot of times crimes like that are committed by people that you know or even family that know of you, know of your habits and routines. That's who normally commit those type of crimes. So the husband, he wasn't stupid. He was maybe been a little slow, but he wasn't slow when it came to getting lawyered up. So she was a billionaire heiress. She was jogging around wee hours of the morning, educator, stuff like that. Unfortunate situation. Come to find out that the guy who allegedly did that to her has a connection to her family. In a way, I think her father's law partner was kidnapped by the guy at gunpoint. He was taking him around to different ATMs in the Memphis area to get his money out. And I guess he kept the guy in the car or in the trunk. Somehow the guy escaped. That's how they caught the guy the first time. But like we had a woman DA for a long time in Memphis and Shelby County named Amy Warwick. Now you think that a woman like her will process these kits? You know, when people get assaulted, they get these kits. They would never process. Had they processed those kits, they could have got this guy out the streets before he did what he did to that white woman, that billionaire heiress. And they didn't do their job because he was involved in an assault before that, but they never processed the kit. And this is a woman. So y'all keep on thinking that women are better than men when it comes to that stuff. It was white women calling for the lynchings of black people, in particular black men. The first woman senator in United States history, Rebecca Felton, former slave owner from Georgia, she gave white men a crash out mission to lynch black men. She gave them their marching orders. This is the first woman to be a United States senator. And make sure I get that right. I hate this stuff wrong because it bothers me at night. It don't matter. A lot of people. People get y'all wrong information all day. They getting all that cash out money and Google AdSense. Yes, Rebecca Latimer Felton was the first woman to serve the United States Senate. Okay. Appointed by Georgia Governor Thomas Hardwick, the women's rights advocate took the oath of office on November 21st, 1922. Her Senate service was largely symbolic as she served for only 24 hours. She encouraged lynchings. I'll make sure I'm going to get Google AI to say it. Yes, Rebecca Latimer Felton openly and repeatedly advocated for the lynching of black men. While she championed progressive reforms like women's suffrage and temperance, her worldview was deeply rooted in white supremacy. This was her most infamous endorsement of racial violence occurred during an August 11th, 1897 speech to the Georgia State Agricultural Society in the address titled Women on the Farm. She argued that white men were failing to protect rural white women. She infamously stated, if it needs lynching to protect women's dearest possession from the ravening human beast, then I say lynch 1,000 times a week if necessary. So that's the 1897 Tybee Allen speech. What happened November 10th, 1898 was the Wilmington Race Massacre, the first and only successful insurrection post-Civil War in American history. Look that up. They did a great documentary about the Wilmington Race Massacre. This is what you did with. And the irony of it all, one of the earliest women suffragists, women rights advocates, was a black man named Frederick Douglass. He was a big advocate for women's rights. As a matter of fact, he was on the Equal Rights Party presidential bill. Like Victoria Woodhull was the presidential nominee, and Frederick Douglass was the vice president nominee for the Equal Rights Party. Make sure I got that right. Equal Rights Party. This is back in 1872. And also Frederick Douglass, his second wife was a white woman who helped secure his legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, she helped secure his legacy in terms of his home being protected in Anacostia. If you ever, do yourselves a favor, when y'all in the DC area, go to Frederick Douglass's home. I think it's under the services of the National Park Service. And it's amazing. It's on a hill. But she protected to make sure that legacy lived beyond her. I mean, his first wife helped him get his freedom and his children. That's part of the legacy. But the white woman made sure that the legacy will be remembered beyond them. So that's a great thing. Yeah, Frederick Douglass was nominated for vice president of the United States by the Equal Rights Party in 1872, making him the first African-American nominated for the office. He was selected as the running mate for Victoria Woodhull, the first woman to run for U.S. president. So what's interesting is the Equal Rights Party, also known as the National Radical Reformers, chose Douglass without his permission or knowledge. That's interesting, y'all. They still treat the man like he was a slave. They didn't get his consent, permission, or even his acknowledgement, but they understood his value. I said he was a guy that really stood for women's rights. And the irony of this white woman said when she said, if it was for black men fighting in the Civil War, when they was able to get their right to the franchise, women would not have a path to getting their rights, especially the right to vote. Black men have always came through. We always came through. Whether people acknowledge that or not, things change when black men get involved. Paradigm shift. Black people in general, but black men in particular. A lot of things have changed. I wish that we would study our history like we study sports. I wish a lot of us was getting into our history like we get into the New York Knicks, no disrespect, Dallas Cowboys, LA Lakers. I wish we had that type of passion when it comes to understanding who we really are and where we came from and what we had to come through to get to a certain point. Because this is very important. You know, it's good. I mean, emotions, all that, but at the end of the day, somebody said on my live when I talked to Judge Joe Brown that the history ain't important. The past is never past. The reason why we keep on getting dumbfounded and keep on doing the same old, we're not studying the patterns. What I'm doing on this live is not just trying to get hits or likes and get whatever. I'm trying to show y'all there's a historical pattern at play here. It's the same playbook, different players, but the same playbook. That's what I'm pointing out. And, oh man, I'm gonna keep this under 3 hours. So we got the Otis Byrd. All right. Let's touch on Emmett Till. The Emmett Till narrative is so misunderstood. The Emmett Till narrative was better understood back in the fall of 1955 than it is in the summer of 2026. So many people, grifters, con people, want to shift the blame and narrative on Emmett Till. Even the folks that were a part of that unfortunate situation, even their viewpoints diverge. or it's diverse, or they go a certain way. Eyewitness testimony isn't the most accurate a lot of times. And then you think about the passage of time. People's memories, perspectives get a little bit fuzzy. Sharp edges become a little bit more less sharp, a little more fuzzy and rounded. Yeah, diverse, everything come apart. But anyway, I'm gonna play this interview because what people don't understand, it was a black man named Dr. T.R.M. Howard, who was the wealthiest black man in Mississippi, lived in Mountain Bayou, had a practice, was a successful surgeon, had a black ran hospital in Mountain Bayou. He was the man who built the first public swimming pool for black people in Mississippi. He helped mentor, I call Jegna. He was a sponsor of the Evers brothers. Mega Evers worked for his insurance company, and Charles Evers worked with him doing the civil rights work as well too. You know, they both had a working relationship with Dr. Howard, and he helped organize the regional council Negro leadership conferences that will draw like 10 to 20, 30,000 black folks from around the area to Mound Bayou to talk politics and strategy. You know, keynotes will be Thurgood Marshall, Right Reverend Representative Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Entertainment Mahalia Jackson, stuff like that. He actually called upon himself to organize an investigation into the Emmett Till situation. He was able to find out that maybe upwards to 11 plus people were involved in Emmett Till, black and white. So y'all keep on talking about when Nolan just hang around black people. I just told you black and whites participated in the kidnapping and the lynching of Emmett Till. It wasn't just white men. They had black men or boys or males assist them as well too. You know, Roy Brown was out of town. He knew nothing about the so-called incident at Brian's store. I believe black people at this store told their stories of what happened or didn't happen. Even you listen to the eyewitnesses, whatever, they all say different things. As far as I know, everybody can't agree. Something happened. He touched her hand. You know, he touched her waist. He touched her hand while she was getting the money. Something, I don't know. We don't know. I wasn't there. And Matt Walsh definitely wasn't there. What I will say, black and whites were involved in the kidnapping and killing of Emmett Till. And guys that people talking about, well, you know, why you feel so sad. I mean, I want people to develop a spirit of discernment. Develop your color of discernment so you can understand people's color of character. Because not just about black and white. People make it about black and white. It's not just that. I remember, because y'all think in Mississippi that black people wasn't hooking up with white people. I know Tariq Nasheed, I don't know if it's true. He said that Nolan's mom is Asian. When I look at Sister Wansley's pictures and stuff, I saw this a light-skinned, high yellow black woman. Now, I would say this. Chinese people have lived in the Delta for a long, long time. They came over here to work on the railroads back in the day. They were known to marry black people. Matter of fact, one of the most prominent black families in Memphis are the Sugarmans. Russell Sugarman was a well-respected civil rights lawyer, activist, and judge. He had Chinese and black in his family. So they were mixed with black and Chinese. You can look at them, and they look like a pair. His wife at one time was Dr. Marion DeCostas Willis. I think she was the first black professor at the University of Memphis. Used to be known as Memphis State University. When you look at her, you think she was a white woman. But she identified as black. She's from Alabama. Matter of fact, she was a participant in the Montgomery bus boycott. But she never talked about herself like this. She was a brilliant woman. And she ended up marrying her husband's law partner, A.W. Willis, a brilliant lawyer and civil rights activist. So you had two brothers who were lawyers who worked at the same law firm, their law practice, and they both at each time was married to the same woman. at one time or the other was married to the same woman. I'm trying to figure out what she was doing, but she was a good-looking sister. She passed on. She's buried next to A.W. Willis in Elmwood Cemetery, right across from Jimmy Lunsford, when I go visit a lot. And yeah, so you got black and Asian mixing it up in the Delta. So I don't know if Wansley, if the sister is actually an Asian. I thought she was high yellow, but she could have some Asian in the background. That's based on the history of Chinese or Asians and blacks in the Delta. But anyway, I want to play this clip I did years ago back in 2012. I talked to Mayor Johnny B. Thomas. He's the mayor of Glendora, Mississippi, but also he's the founder of the Emmett Till Interpret Center or Museum. I talked to him back in 2012. My friend, the late great righteous ancestor Margaret Block, did the introduction. His father allegedly was a guy that people said helped murder Emmett Till. His father was Henry Lee Loggins, one of the black men that helped kidnap and torture Emmett Till. It is said that his father, Henry Lee Loggins, put the bullet in Emmett Till's head. Matter of fact, his father was hidden in a jail cell, I think in Charleston, because they're trying to make sure he didn't testify in the trial for Roy Bryant and his brother J.W. Mountain. They hid him and another black guy who allegedly helped with the kidnapping and killing of Emmett Till, Levi Too Tight Collins. Matter of fact, Johnny B. Thomas told me that Levi actually lived with his family, but he acknowledged what his father did, and he made it his mission to right or wrong by shedding light on the situation. And it was amazing to talk to him. Like, he didn't try to hide away from the fact that his father was involved. But he also talked about the mentality of black people back then to get involved in a horrible situation like that. And we talked near the Black Bayou. It was right by the Black Bayou and the bridge that crossed the Black Bayou. Thing about it is, when they tell the story about Emmett Till, they would normally say that he was tortured, murdered, whatever, and had a 70-pound cotton gin fan tied around his neck and thrown into the Tallahatchie River. According to the locals, including Johnny B. Thomas, that's not true. He was tortured in Drew, Mississippi, all that stuff. But he was actually thrown off the bridge into the Black Bayou that leads into the Tallahatchie River. So without further ado, I want to get him to talk from his side. That's why it's good to have these archives, because like I said, I'm not just doing this for clicks and clickbait, rage bait. I'm really trying to help inform people and try to do it in a way that'll get people more inspired to do their own research, because a lot of times I get things wrong, not because I'm trying to intentionally mislead people. Sometimes I just don't know, and I thought I knew, but I didn't know. And it's always interesting that as I've been doing this for 20 plus years, really 20 years. It'll be 20 years of podcasting January the 7th of next year, but We All Be has been around for 20 years. So I got hundreds, thousands of hours of interviews and all types of stuff, and experienced some interesting things. So, unfortunate, tragic moments like what happened to Brother Nolan gives me a chance to inform people and to remind them that the past is never past. And with that said, I'm not going to hold y'all too long. Try to keep this under 3 hours. Oh, God. He has such a good humor. We got to see. We'll play this. So We All Be News Free Dixie, man. Baby, baby. Okay.
You are watching We All Be News Radio, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm Thaddeus Matthews.
what's your name and your title?
I'm Johnny B. Thomas, mayor of the town of Glendora since 82.
I heard that. And also you do a lot of other things as well. Like what's your...
Yeah, I'm executive director of a nonprofit here that pretty much sponsored the Emmett Historic Intrepid Center. Yes.
So why is it important to remember the Emmett Till saga?
Well, my thing is that we should never forget our past unless we plan on going back through the same thing that have happened back then. So I think it's very important for young folks, especially because now those people have forgotten about it, don't even know the Margaret Blockers and all those people that was threatened and beaten and every kind of thing else to prevent them from being where they are now. And now they've made it and they've forgotten it. So we intend to have a Intrepid Center, which is often questioned, why is it not Interpretive Center instead of Intrepid? Well, we want to make sure that these young folks does not have the fear that was perpetrated upon us back then through Jim Crowism and those kind of things. And fear is something that we should wash out.
Yeah, I like it.
Without it, there would be no healing. And we've got to remember what happened and to remember that it was fear for Mose Wright. The reason Mose Wright say there he is back there, and fear that there was others in the house that would be taken and suffer the same fate. So he gave up. But then certainly now we should make sure that that never happen again. And anything like that to happen, we got to stand up.
Also, I know, speaking of, you said standing up and not living in fear. Also, I know you got a unique connection to the Emmett Till legacy as well through a relative, correct?
Well, yes, there was several relatives of mine that was involved in this heinous act, and some say now that they was accomplices. And of course, they've ignored Jim Crowism, and during Jim Crowism, there was no African American accomplices. You either do what I say or you die, or you suffer the same fate. And of course, my father was one of those that had to do what his master say do or suffer the same fate. And some reported that he had suffered the same fate after being kidnapped and placed in jail and under false names and those kind of things. And my mom not seeing him for 2 or 3 weeks because he's locked up under false name, preventing him from testifying in the case. And of course, my mom, she even reported that the same fellow, J.W. Milam, would beat them even if they were sick and couldn't go to the field. So that was my part in this whole thing. But my father, the worst, they've reported everywhere and written countless books, including him in this thing. And pretty much all of my life, I've suffered the fate of the sins of my father. And I say the sins of my father, sins that was made to be of my father. So he would come home and we would hear all the time as a kid that low down so-and-so, that was part of killing that kid and all those kind of things. So it's been pretty tough all life, but I just want to make sure that the young folks understand that those things didn't just happen. They was things that was to keep us in the shape that we was in back then and to keep us from being together and those kind of things. So Jim Crowism, it was a terrible thing and so terrible until it made certain individuals. You could either be a part of the Jim Crowism and do as they say, or you suffer as others that refuse to do as they say. So it was a terrible thing. But I have no shame in it, and I have no problem with my father continuing to live to 85. And the only reason he did live to 85 was probably because he had been trained under Jim Crowism and to do the right thing, as they say.
Oh, actually, have you heard any feedback from Brian or the Milam families concerning your project?
No, I haven't. I've been trying to pull those people together because, Milam stayed right out of our back door.
Mm.
And my house was here and his house was right behind. And I'm sure that I interacted and played as a child with his children, and me and my brother, back then, because he was the right hand. My dad was the right hand of Milam back then. With Milam was to take care of all of the plantations around here. He did all the harvesting and probably planting of crops and that kind of thing. So my dad was there with him all the time. And I'm sure that we was kids and playing together, but I've not heard from him since. And actually, I've asked Oprah to intervene to help us to break bread, just to find out the fate of those kids that continue, I'm sure, to suffer from the sins of their fathers. And, that's something our entire mission here is to create healing and not to stir up controversy and all of those kind of things, but to begin the healing. Here in Glendora, we think the premeditation took place. And in Glendora, we should be the one that solve those problems that took place back then.
Yeah, I agree. I don't mean to cut you out, but you talking about reconciliation. I know Sister Margaret talking about there was some entities in Mississippi are trying to do a reconciliation type of deal where, it seemed to me though that a lot of us are running away from the past. Like you're embracing the past for what it was, but also you're trying to learn from, you're not trying to live in the past. You're trying to move forward by looking back at the past. Oh, William Faulkner said, well, the past is never past.
Well, he's probably right, because if you don't keep it, then certainly you're subject to fall right back into the same fate. I believe Morgan Freeman said he doesn't want to get involved with this case here because it's too controversial and it's going to stir up a lot of other kind of fate. And
okay.
I disagree. I'd hope that he would get involved with it, being from Tallahatchie County, and to help us to remember this thing and to make it happen as it should happen. And that is to teach young folks, it's nothing wrong with remembering what happened. And now the state of Mississippi has came out with the authenticity of Mississippi, which is the good, the bad, and the ugly. They intend to show it, and they intend to show it on an international basis. And they intend to bring in individuals from the international piece to help fund the economy here.
Right, it's money, right.
On our backs. And
that's
if
right.
money in it, if money's in it, then certainly we ought to be telling our story. I'm one to hopefully have the Margaret Blockers and all those people in this living museum up here. We change in and out, not just stay one way. We've created a curriculum for the school districts. Our West Tallahatchie School District will be bringing all of their 4th through 8th grades to the museum this Black History Month. And of course, we've invited even the academies. So we've invited all of the Pillows and all of the academies, Sunflower, Bolivar, Coahoma, every academy around here to come through. Well, I don't know if they come, but it's a part of our healing piece, and we're going to definitely invite them to show up. And I think it would be definitely beneficial for all to participate in what we've pulled together here, this historic piece.
Yeah, I think it's very important you talk about the curriculum, because I know I talked to Bobby Rush, the blues musician, and he was very disappointed when he came to Tallahatchie County and talked to some school-age kids. When he asked them what they thought about Medgar Evers, they said they don't know who he was. They never heard of Medgar Evers. These are black kids that live in Mississippi, never heard of Medgar Evers.
Bobby Rush is one of our individuals that's on our orientation history there. He talks about Sonny Boy, but then we had about 2 hours of interview with him, and we intend to change that in and out and to talk about the Chiplin Circuit and all of those places and the hard times that they went through and the way that they was commoditized as well. But, they was plantation. They took everything that they was doing and took it away from them.
Right.
For instance, most of them don't own any rights to anything that they have. My cousin, Sonny Boy Williamson, born here in Glendora, 50 or 60 nieces and nephews here in Glendora. Every one of them poor than he was back in 1965 when he came to Glendora and couldn't leave because he did not have enough money to get over into Helen, Arkansas.
Wow.
His nephew had to send him. And he was just leaving Europe. And now they're making millions off him. Millions. And he had no kids, as I understand it. And none of the heirs are receiving anything, just as they did Robert Johnson.
Right.
However, the Supreme Court changed that. And at some point, we hope that the Supreme Court will change the situation with Sonny Boy.
Wow.
And all of the family here in Glendora. You know what I mean? He was born here, and we have him saying he was born here in Glendora. Therefore, we intend to, at some point, get these young folks of his, nieces and nephews and cousins such as myself. I'm from his mother's side of family, so maternal cousins. So we're going to be working on trying to change those things. It's a hard road to hold.
Right.
And a long road to hold, but you know, we used to holding roads. So we'll get it out.
Yes, sir. But I'm actually just about the curriculum, dog. I'm like, is it easy to get state approved? I mean, is the state willing to circulate your curriculum to different counties and whatnot in different public school systems?
The thing we're going to do, we're going to invite those school systems and inviting them, we will send them a copy of our curriculum as to what the kid should be getting and what he can get out of it and those kind of things. We've tried to be on the civil curriculum. You know, the state of Mississippi now have passed a law that they put together a civil and human rights curriculum.
Right.
However, the state and the school district have decided to leave the human rights part off and just go deal with the civil.
Right.
But I think it, and our museum is dealing with the civil and human. But the state has passed a law to establish a civil curriculum year-round, and we try to be a part of it, and I'm hoping that we wind up at some point being a part of it through the Mississippi Delta National Heritage Area that we are in now, that we're designated as, and myself serving on the Civic Engagement Committee. I hope to involve the 18 counties, and especially getting the African Americans involved and up off of their assets.
I like that.
So that we can do something different. I mean, we've lost the blues, and now they're beginning to put down all civil rights trail and telling our story. And
But they won't close the cold cases by solving them.
they won't close the cold case.
But then cold hard cash off dead bodies.
Exactly. We at one point talked about it when in our grand opening in 2005, started a civil or traveling exhibit. And talking about it, it was taken from us. And next thing reading, though, it was in London, England, and at every state almost.
Wow.
You know, but it left out what Mamie wanted to show, what they did to her body. It doesn't have that in it. This blocker, you check it?
Yeah.
It's not in there.
No, it's not.
That
I
part,
know it.
the casket opening and the
Wow.
face of the child and what happened to him is not a part of that, which is it's
Yeah.
not authentic.
It sure isn't.
But they do plan on showing the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I think it ought to be us.
I agree. And what's the situation with the Bryant store? I mean, what's that about? I mean, I heard that they're trying to sell it, the family trying to sell it for $4 million.
They've talked about several pieces about it. With the thing. I just think they wanted to go away just as they wanted this community to go away. This community should be supposed to be back to the cotton fields.
Yeah.
But somehow I was born and was a year, 8 months, and 28 days old when this took place. In one of the interviews that Milo Gadd said there will never be a nigger in charge to put in the politics or anything here in this community over my children. But little did he know I was already here.
Some of us
waiting.
live in Crucillo, though.
In Tallahatchie County,
Yeah, over there
and
in
Grenada
Charleston.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he did not know that I was here, and waiting to take.
You saw some Old Testament stuff right there going on.
Did not know I was here to begin my mission. Yeah.
Wow.
Of course, they buried the kid in money, and somehow they made him get him up, and they sent him to Chicago.
He actually was already buried.
they had buried him and had not covered him up, I don't think, before they somehow the state made him get it up and send him on to his mother in Chicago.
I got I'll tell you who had done it.
But then where they sent him to in Chicago, they sent him to 4141 Reno.
Mm-hmm.
That came my last 4 digits of my social. 4141. Something they say is on you. You don't get a double digit in your social, but
Oh, wow.
mine came 4141. So I said, wow. And I looked at it and I said, 4141 Reno. Wow.
It was your destiny to really bring this about.
I'm thinking it's destiny.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying to my assistants there and others that, we're pretty much destined here. So all we got to do is to stand up and do what we got to do and make it happen. And I think that's one of the reasons your good friend, Luther Brown, decided to put me on the civil curriculum to make something,
That is nobody's
to
friend.
try and bring something.
He's your friend.
And not mine. So,
Nah,
but that's who stole my stuff.
Oh, I know
Yeah,
you got
that's
kicked.
who
I
did.
told you got kicked out of Central America.
Uh,
Well, man, John, but you got anything else to add? We really enjoyed talking to you.
well, no, we do want to express that this bridge here
Mm-hmm.
is now a historic site. It's been designated as a historic site because of the type of bridge it is.
Mhm.
However,
Right.
they refused to give me the civil,
I got you.
human part
Uh-huh.
of this bridge and the significance of it, where my father said is where the kid was dropped off in.
Now, was he still alive when they threw him off the bridge?
Emmett,
Mm-hmm.
it was allegedly shot through the head at that point
Mm.
already. So I doubt if he was, but we don't know.
Did they get like one of the black people to do it, or did the?
I'm gonna say, and I think,
Mhm.
and I believe, it was said that either my father or Too Tight.
Is Too Tight still around?
Too Tight is not around, and Too Tight lived in the house with us. That's why they kidnapped him and my father.
Oh
together.
wow.
Both of them worked for Milo.
Mhm.
Kidnapped both of them to prevent them from testifying. The story was going to probably be that my father went and helped to take the kid away and brought him back here, tied, pulled my cousin father in and another one of them Too Tight, and gave them the ring. That's when the drunken spree took place back here on Sunday morning. And now sending someone to get my father to bring him back out, to go down to the museum here, get the fan that they tied around my father, allegedly tied around his neck, and bring him here. My father said, no, it was not the Tallahatchie that they dropped him in. It was the Black Bayou. Well, this is where my father went across here to go back to where his mother and father was, so you know the Black Bayou.
Yeah.
Mm.
And, of course, he talked for 3 days. They interviewed him for 3 days, and that is probably the reason they reopened the case. According to Keith Beauchamp, that is why they reopened the case, because he had so much information, and that would lead to reopening.
Some of my readings was that Carolyn Bryant, the wife of Roy Bryant, was actually present at the home of Mose Wright and pointed out Emmett.
That is Mose Wright on our one of the documentaries. He said that he heard a soft voice say, "That is this him?" And they asked, "Is this him?" And they said, "Yes, that's it."
Did Simeon say that too?
Not Simeon, but Mose said it.
Mose
said, "Yes, this is him."
So you think Carolyn Bryant, who lives in Greenville now, do you think any charges should have been brought against her? I know that when they reopened the investigation, that they got some evidence stating that she might have been there and point out Emmett. So you feel like she's liable for any charges in his death?
She was a warrant was issued on her. So I understand back in '55 that they never did anything with. They never did take them and arrest her. And the last two in the reopening of the case was my father and her. And when I went to Ohio with the FBI to speak to him, it was to supposedly to implicate her. And that wasn't happening with my dad. She was still living. I had to tell him that he and her was the only 2 witnesses probably being looked at. And of course that froze him.
I heard that he got some. He said he ain't fall for the okie doke.
The white folks still kill you. What he said to me.
But basically, he's saying that, in a lot of ways, what he didn't say was saying that she was there without saying it.
Without saying that. And that was probably good for the other side, because I don't think there was no way that a white female was going to be arrested then or now about that.
That's so, Mayor John B. It's an honor. Thank you so much for taking time out your busy schedule to talk with us. We appreciate it.
One of your old teachers.
And that was Johnny B. Thomas of Emmett Intrepid Center, telling his side of the story, his father's involvement in what happened at Emmett Till. Like I said, Dr. Howard actually said it might have been as many as 14 people involved in the actual kidnapping and lynching of Emmett Lewis Till. And somehow that's been lost to history. It's like Dr. T.M. Howard was well known during his time. He was like one of the most famous Black speakers in the country. But when Dr. King came on the scene, now Dr. Howard, he traveled on behalf of the NAACP around the country to talk about what happened to Emmett Till and the Mississippi situation post trial with the brothers. And one of his stops was Dexter Baptist Avenue Church down in Montgomery. And it was a woman in the crowd who heard him speak named Rosa Parks. When she was sitting down on that bus and refused to move, she said her mind was on Emmett Till. And really that was implanted in her mind by the speech she heard Dr. Howard give at Dr. King's church at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, I believe. So there you go with the Emmett Till thing. But how's that got lost in history is interesting, because like when they tell the story, it's kind of like, oh, it's two white boys, brothers who did everything. But they actually had help. And even that guy admitted that several family connected people, including his father, was involved in that. So it's interesting. It is interesting to ponder all this stuff. And it gets back to Nolan. What really happened to that young man? You had all these people trying to find him and whatnot on this little small island. It's not like it was a big island, but yet, he was discovered. Then we don't really know who actually found the body, because they give you two different situations in the same article, like I read. So that's really showed a dumbification of America. And I want to talk about this case. I ain't going to keep y'all too long. But the Frederick Jermaine Carter case. I always ask Ida Wells' birthday. It's my Black History Dream Girl. Her birthday is coming up July 16th. And when I get involved in these situations, I always ask, what would Ida B do? And the Frederick Jermaine Carter case is the example of what Ida B would do, which is do the right thing. And this case is really close to me. That case in particular, this young man, Frederick Jermaine Carter, is 26 years old, originally from Massachusetts, not even from Mississippi, but his folks got roots in Mississippi. His mama, I don't think, was even born in Mississippi. She was raised up in Massachusetts, but she wanted to come back to the homeland. If I'm not mistaken, I think she was born and raised in Massachusetts. I know her sister, Shalea Ross, she was born and raised in Mississippi. She had to get out of Mississippi because she was too outspoken. She was like one of those firebrand type of people. So she had to move up north. But Frederick came down to Mississippi to live with his mom at the age of 16 from Massachusetts. He was on a painting gig with his father, or stepfather rather, Llewellyn Evans, his stepfather. They were doing a painting gig in Greenwood, Mississippi. They lived in Sunflower County. That's the county next door to LaFleur County. Greenwood's in LaFleur County. So they was on a painting gig on that Wednesday, I think November 30th. Make sure. I think it was November 30th. I'm just really proud to be on point.
Cause I think he was found hanging from the tree on Friday. I believe that was December 2nd. Just checking in my calendar. Wait a minute. December 3rd, excuse me. Cause I said it wrong. I think one of my podcasts I meant, cause I wasn't sure. I knew it was December, the 1st December in 2010. So according to this calendar, it's December 3rd, 2010. So they found him hanging from a tree December 3rd, 2010. But on Wednesday, December 1st, he was on a painting gig with his stepfather. Here's the thing. Stepfather left him at the site to get some supplies. I don't know if he brought supplies or to get some supplies somewhere. So he left Frederick on site. Frederick somehow wandered off from site. It said that Frederick got a wanderlust spirit, like he's known for walking long miles. Just he started walking, keeps walking, and trying to act like he had some type of mental issues. I don't know for sure. I never met Frederick. People said it really wasn't a mental issue, more like he didn't really stand up for himself. From my understanding, he was very kind-hearted. He got along well with children. The children in the neighborhood really liked him, respected him. From my understanding, his mama labeled him the man of the house, which is interesting because he had a stepfather. But his mom allegedly called him the man of the house. Read this from several different articles, whatever like that. Who's to know? So could there have been some tension between stepfather and stepson? Because I believe when his mom moved to Mississippi, that's when she met Llewellyn Evans, who's from Mississippi. And they were married, from my understanding, within months of meeting each other. So I guess Frederick came into that situation. And I don't know if they get along or not, but the fact that why would a married woman call her man, call her son, the man of the house? We got a married man living in the home with you. But anyway, he disappeared. And then 2 days later, on Friday, December 3rd, he was found hanging from a tree in North Greenwood. Now, Greenwood is interesting. North Greenwood is a very upscale, affluent white area. A lot of well-off whites live in North Greenwood. And Frederick was found hanging from an oak tree on private property that also had a dog pound or dog kennel. So you had dogs back there. This black man hanging from an oak tree by a dog kennel next to the Tallahatchie River. So sometimes people say the Yazoo River, or they call it the Tallahatchie River. It's actually two rivers. They converge in Greenwood. So you got the Tallahatchie. He was closely found near the Tallahatchie part, the Tallahatchie River, which eventually runs into or combines with the Yazoo, something like that. It's some weird stuff, but some people just say about the river, right? So he was found hanging from that tree. Witnesses claim that they saw him running along the levee earlier. There's a lot of conflicts. The reason why this case bothered me, because a lot of things was not done like it should have been done, like the initial investigation or lack thereof. Because I remember hearing about this case. USA Today broke the case saying a black man was found hanging from a tree in Mississippi, and they were playing on the echoes of Emmett Till because he was found near the Tallahatchie River. This is where they pulled Emmett Till's body out of, the Tallahatchie River, right? He's found in so a lot of speculation. And then within maybe a day or two, the sheriff and the coroner shut it down, saying that, it was that he took himself out the equation. And that really never sat right with me, because there was no autopsy results released or done at that time. From my understanding, the state of Mississippi had an issue with their state medical examiner. So they got a new one named Dr. A.L.L Shaker, a renowned forensic pathologist type of dude. He had a lot of respect in his field. He like Egyptian and Kenyan. He's from Africa, but he was renowned as a pathologist worldwide. So he came to Mississippi to be the state's medical examiner. So immediately they said, he took himself out of here without any really real investigation. The crime scene wasn't protected. The crime scene was not secure. Everybody was going back there, walking through the evidence, whatever. They claimed that a table was used by Frederick Carter to hang himself from the tree. My understanding, Frederick Carter was 5'4", like 143 pounds, something like that. The table kind of like flimsy or whatever. Like the sheriff department actually had to reconstruct the table. They actually put the table together. They claimed that he used that table to stand on top of to hang himself. State Senator David Jordan said that there was cut rope in his pocket, but there was no tools around that he could have used. Like they didn't find no knife or anything that he could have used to cut the rope, but there was cut rope found in his pocket, one of his pockets. He was hanging from a tree limb. I think David Jordan, state senator, said it was like 12 feet out the ground. So he's 5'4", tree limb about 12 feet in the air. I think it was 8 to 12 feet in the air. Because David Jordan said he's 6'2", so he's saying the tree limb was 12 feet tall. And they trying to claim use this flimsy table that they had to reconstruct at the crime scene. Then, by the way, they left that table out there. Their table was still out there months later when we came back there with an entourage, police escort with VIPs on Good Friday, 2011. That was April 22nd, 2011. His body was discovered December 3rd, and that table was out there. And it's still, that stuff is weird. I'm just thinking about they didn't secure the crime scene. They claimed they didn't find any other footprints besides Frederick, but there was like people walking everywhere. Then how long he been dead, which is interesting. Some people claim, like the coroner, I talked to the coroner. I got her on audio. She claimed that he'd been dead for at least 24 hours to 48 hours after he disappeared. So it's like he immediately got killed after he disappeared from the gig, off the site. People claim that there was no body hanging from a tree that morning, that Friday morning. His body was not discovered until afternoon, early afternoon. My thing is this: where he was found is active. They got a dog kennel back there. They got a lot of dogs back there. I mean, to me, like the dogs would be making noises, like it'd be commotion going on. Then it's an open field, a nature path, walkway, whatever. So you got people that walk, do nature walks, hike, whatever, ride their bicycles. It's right near the levee by the river. And some witnesses say they saw him running up and down the levee like he's being chased earlier, but his body wasn't hanging from there. But the coroner said he'd been dead for at least a day or 2 days. So my thing is, how did he hang? How did he get there? He didn't put himself there. And what's interesting is that it's on private property. He was found on private property in an affluent neighborhood. This is like where all the rich white people in Greenwood live. I believe at the time, like LaFleur County is 65% black and it was 35% white. You know, you got the tale of two cities or two towns. You got Baptist Town, where there's extreme poverty, black neighborhoods, extreme poverty. Then literally across the tracks, you got North Greenwood, affluent, upscale homes, old money, old cotton money, whatever. And they found this boy who lived in Sunflower County in this affluent white neighborhood, hanging from a tree on private property. And I got on tape, I know his mom, I think I got on tape. I got to go through my archives. I said YouTube got rid of a lot of my videos on this thing. She said that after they found her son hanging, that her and somebody else went back there to look at the scene. And well, these three white men in a white pickup truck came and approached him saying, "What you doing on private property?" And she approached him and told him, like, you know, she had a posture where like she was holding a gun, concealing the gun, and kind of backed away. Now, when we was back there on Good Friday, we had a VIP entourage, police escort. We had Dr. Howard Creasy, the head of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the national president at the time. You had State Senator David Jordan. You had State Rep Willie Perkins, who also was the NAACP president for LaFleur County. You had the family, Brenda Carter Evans and her husband, his stepfather, Llewell Evans, the representative of the family at the time, Valerie Hicks Poe, the questionable employment lawyer from Birmingham. And I get really deep into that on my series on We All Be News blog about the 7 months later why there wasn't any results pertaining to justice for Fire. Fire was his nickname. But anyway, we was back there, VIPs and all this stuff. It was eerie being back there in the middle of the day, even with police escorts. You had politicians, you had these leaders. I didn't feel comfortable being back there. You had the dog kennel full of pups and dogs, whatever. Then it was a white man in a white pickup truck. He drove back there, got out, and called himself tending to the dogs. I think he was ear hustling, trying to pick up what we were putting down, like what was going on. And I recorded the crime scene. We walk around, we look at the tree. The table was still out there. It wasn't even in the crime lab. Why is the table still out there? Now, here's the thing. Valerie Hicks poll was interesting. I think she was recommended to the family by a state patrolman, state trooper, or something like that. This woman really had no business representing the family interest in this case. She didn't have the experience. She was employment law, corporate law, employment. She didn't deal with the type of stuff. But yet she's here, and it's like she was running interference. Like she was sabotaging key relationships. Well, I say that the Nation of Islam got involved early in the situation. They actually helped organize the homegoing for Frederick Carter. Matter of fact, the eulogist for the homegoing was one of Elijah Muhammad's sons. He came down to do the eulogy. The final call was, one of the earliest advocates for a different perspective on the case. Like they actually printed his crime scene photos, him hanging from the tree like an Emmett Till type of Jet magazine treatment. But on the front cover, it shows him hanging from the tree by the rope. Show the other crime scene photos, and they give a alternate narrative. Even the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, they paid for a second autopsy for the family, and they allowed Brenda Carter Evans, the mother, to pick the person or a place to do the autopsy. So she picked this Nigerian brother out of Nebraska to do the second autopsy. So what's interesting is with Dr. A.L.L. Shaker, the state medical examiner, when months have started to go by, in the March of 2011, I decided to call around to different state agencies to find out how can we get access to Frederick Jermaine Carter's autopsy results, his first autopsy, because it hadn't been released to the public at the time, and I feared that public interest would die, because there was no new updates, anything pertaining to the case. It was going to die. So I ended up just calling around. Then I got to the state medical examiner's office, and Dr. A.L.L. Shaker answered the phone. It's like it was like a movie script. Because I was inquiring about the autopsy results. He said, I just put that in the mail to the family today. And I asked him, well, what was your conclusion? The results. He said, I said it was a hanging pending further investigation. So this is key. He didn't say officially it was a suicide. He didn't even say it was foul play. He said it was a hanging. He acknowledged that the young man was hanging or asphyxiation, whatever, from the tree. He said it needs to be further investigated. By him saying that, he opened up a Pandora's box. He actually went against the so-called official narrative of the sheriff's department and the county coroner. Because he didn't say, he said, yes, he was found hanging. It was a hanging, but it needs to be properly investigated. And that really, I believe, cost him his job. He got ran out the state of Mississippi. I think he ended up going to Alabama. But Valerie Hicks Pohl was involved in that because she was questioning the man's integrity, which is interesting. He's trying to help you out. He's giving y'all a lifeline by saying that it needs to be further investigated, but you try to do him in, allegedly. From my understanding, she just had a weird vibe about her. And it's not, you see the case didn't go anywhere because she had an Justice for Us website. She was trying to be, I think there was going to be a come up. She was trying to become like Al Sharpton or what Ben Crump is, and then work out for her. Because from my understanding, she was meeting with the family at a McDonald's in Birmingham. She's from Birmingham. Her practice in Birmingham. So it was interesting. How'd she get a hold of this case? Because she was recommended through a family friend somebody in law enforcement, from my understanding, recommended this woman who really had no experience in this type of stuff. And she was green to begin with, but she was trying to chase that green, but she was too green to begin with. And she burned a lot of people they were trying to help. Even the Nation of Islam, they paid for the second autopsy, and she found a way to put a wedge between the Nation of Islam and the family. I know Brother Wendell Lee with Operation Civil Rights Help out of Memphis. He was very key grassroots wise and organizing press conferences, getting momentum sustained and stuff like that. But on the Good Friday press conference, she told that man at the last minute, don't talk about the case. He called a press conference in front of the courthouse in LaFleur County in Greenwood. He convinced the head of the SCLC to take a caravan. They brought a caravan all the way from Atlanta to Greenwood to show support and solidarity. And she told him at a press conference about Frederick Jermaine Carter not to talk about Frederick Jermaine Carter. And that upset him so bad that he didn't come to the crime scene when we went over there that day. And she really pissed me off because she was accusing me of being an opportunist when all I did was trying to make sure that the fire wouldn't die as it relates to this case, to keep it relevant and keep it in front of the people. And I was doing it out of love. I was getting paid nothing. I didn't ask for any fee or nothing like that. I was just doing what I thought was the right thing to do at that time. But there's so many weirdness about that case. I interviewed the sheriff of LaFleur County, Ricky Banks. The stepfather is interesting. He's never been properly questioned. Like I said, with these cases, a lot of times you look at the people closest to the victim as possible suspects. The fact that he was one of the last people to see his stepson alive, they was on a working gig together. It's kind of like the Nolan Wells case. We left together. We should come back together. So why is it that the stepfather comes back home, but the stepson is missing? And then you find him dead hanging from a tree 2 days later. It's like the Nolan. I'm showing y'all the playbook. I ain't saying, I'm just putting stuff out there. It's fascinating. This man, I try to talk to this man on Good Friday on that press conference day. I asked him, so what? He said, talk to the lawyer. I said, what do you think about this weather we having? Talk to my lawyer. He said something like, he kept on, yes, it's pleading the fifth. He was pleading the fifth. He wouldn't say a mumbling word. It was like a church mouse. He'll mumble things or whisper things to people associated with him that he knew. He didn't know me, so I can understand the apprehension. But my thing is, he claimed that he called the sheriff's department when Frederick went missing. I talked to Sheriff Ricky Banks. I recorded it. I got the audio that YouTube took down. I got the audio somewhere. I gotta find it. But he talked about, I asked him, did Llewell Evans call the sheriff department? He said they had no record of him calling them whatsoever. He said they record all their calls. They take notes, log, and everything. He never called the sheriff department. Now, it's possible he could have called the Greenwood Police Department and got them confused or whatever. But nobody ever answered or asked him those questions. Nobody actually, he was never, I don't think he was even interrogated or anything. Like, you and him was on a gig together. Y'all were doing a job together and he disappeared on your watch. And you claim that you went to get some supplies. Where are your receipts? Like, where's the receipts? Like, where did you go? Can we get video footage of the place he went to buy supplies, the paint, whatever, the brushes? See, this is stuff that bothers me. This is really elementary, simple stuff that they did not do. They did not secure the crime scene, did not question the people that last spoke with or saw or worked with Frederick. They just put out this narrative that we got to accept the fact that this black boy or black man who lived in a different county would come our way on a painting gig to delete himself by hanging from a tree in a very affluent white community. Old money on private property by a dog kennel, and nobody saw nothing. Them folks probably got cameras all. This is back in 2010. I'm sure they got cameras and stuff. You know, because these well-off people, I think they were more concerned about bringing down property value. But I heard on the streets when I was out there in Greenwood that his murder was retaliation for a white kid killed in the black neighborhood over some drug stuff, something like that. It was so many different rumors going around, and there was no investigation, no proper investigation. The DA wasn't interested in doing an investigation. Sheriff Department don't seem like they were really interested in doing anything. But there's no institutions, nothing to hold these people accountable for anything. And this constantly repeats, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. This is constantly happening because we have no institutions. We have no allies. This is during the presidency of Barack Obama, y'all so-called beloved black president. And he had a black attorney general whose sister-in-law was Vivian Malone, who helped integrate Alabama. And he said himself that if we don't deal with race, we're a nation of cowards. And this happened on their watch, just like Trayvon Martin, just like Ferguson, Mike Brown, just like Sandra Bland. This happened on Obama's watch. Yeah, y'all want to blame Trump for that? All Obama did was have a beer summit. Kind of BS is that? Obama, I don't get it. It's not about, but I'm saying like these black folks were getting knocked out of here on his watch. And that Frederick Carter thing is a travesty. Because that case could have been solved, but I realized the interference of being run at the basic level. I had people just call me, leave messages saying, look, bro, we appreciate, be careful. You don't know what you're really getting into. Be careful. I had people that was interested in bringing more coverage and relevance to the case. They had to step back and they warned me to be careful about this case. I dealt with nervous exhaustion. I ain't gonna say I had a nervous breakdown, but I had to step away because I was getting too close to it because I really cared about getting justice for this young man and for his family. But it's like the people that's closest to the case, they was the ones hurting the case. So what I ended up doing, like I wrote about it 7 months later in a series of articles back in July of 2011. They're still on We All Be, but the videos have been removed from YouTube. But I'm gonna find a way to get those videos back out there for posterity. I see some people are still interested in dealing with that case. But I believe if you could properly solve that case, it will give you the blueprint for the other cases, including Nolan's, because nobody's being held accountable. People think this is going to be like, oh, just another Friday, just another Saturday, just another this. No, it's not business as usual no more because the ancestors want answers. The ancestors, they want answers. The dead ain't dead. The past ain't past. Dealing with the ghosts of Mississippi, this is real stuff. There's a lot of other cases I could talk about, but I chose to talk about these cases tonight. There's a lot of cases on my mind because, like I said, I don't look at this as a way for sensationalism. I'm not doing this because I'm trying to get all this. I'm not making no money out of this like that. This is weird. I put a lot of work into what I do. Like somebody said in our comments, said, man, but around these Gen Z people don't know you've been doing this. You one of the originals. I've been doing this for a long time. And it's amazing when I think about it, how long I've been doing this in spite of my personal situations and stuff like that. Let's see. You said black YouTubers seem to be paid or commanded to support Trump. I mean, I voted for Trump. Not paid. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent person. And I believe that with the Trump situation, I'm voting for what's happening now. We're waking up. I want our people to rise up. Sometimes when you trying to motivate your people, you got to be seen as a villain. I'm mostly misunderstood by a lot of people that I love. And I have made my peace with that because God has put me here to disrupt business as usual. Yep. I ain't going to miss nobody that ain't a part of the mission. So, be out and be out my way. I appreciate it. Thank you. But the thing about it is people keep on thinking that the solutions are with Democrats and Republicans when it's really about us. The solution's within you. Whatever your problem on the outside is, your solution's on the inside. I'm not gonna Nolan ain't the only one. A lot of us have a need for white validation. That's our problem. A lot of us have that need because we keep on saying that we don't want to be around them and this and that. Well, leave the system. Start your own system. Start your own government. Do your own thing. Get off the grid. You know, my thing is, I think it's a lie because it's black people getting killed all the time by other black people, but it only makes us mad when they do it. It's like we only mean something when other people kill us, when other people disrespect us. We don't care about killing each other or disrespecting ourselves. And I know people say, you know, black on black crime is a myth. The reality is people are dead. Yeah, you kill where you live, you know, all that stuff. Everybody do it. My thing is, what are we trying to prove to them? They are no better than us. They keep on saying that we have no soul. We're savages, but we are the architects and creators of civilization. They tell us that we are bad parents, but our ancestors breastfed their kids, raised their kids when they didn't want their kids. We raised this country to be what it is. We got to take our own accountability when it comes to that. Black on black crime is a product of a system. This system is organized crime. You got people that look like us could do things to us, but not because it's kind of interesting. Crime is crime. The greatest crime, it's like in Memphis. I live in Memphis. The greatest crime being committed is undereducating the masses. It's undereducating the masses. That's the greatest crime. When you rob people the ability to offer them in a foundation where they can practice their own form of self-determination, that's the biggest crime to humanity. Now, with that said, I'm going to sign out because I go a long time, but I'm going to do another part to this. But I feel like I touch upon all the different cases the best I can. Be on the lookout for Frederick Jermaine Carter to get some more traction in light of what happened to Brother Nolan. I would tell people, please tell your children the truth. Y'all exposing them all this music, like Young Miami, she ain't no problem. Just like long as you exposing them Young Miami, also play some Sun Ra. Play some Sonny Rollins. Play some Miles Davis, Curtis Mayfield. Play some Leontine Price. Balance it out. I'm all about balance and exposure. So with that said, thank y'all for tuning out to tune in to get in where you don't fit in. The views and beliefs are not the views and beliefs of We All Be Group Incorporated or We All Be News, radio and TV. Those are the views and beliefs of perspectives of the host and the guests and anybody else that's filling in. But we're just a platform to help amplify things that need to be amplified and say the things that need to be said. And with Dr. Howard, like I said, he was an ensemble. He used his home as a command center during the trial with the brothers, but when it relates to Emmett Till, he offered Emmett Till Mosley safe passage to and from to the trial, and also offered a place to lay her head in comfort because he believed in 24-hour security. He had armed security for 24 hours. Dr. Howard was no joke. We need to know more about him and less about other stuff that are distractions, because our ancestors have provided us the blueprint for liberation. That's why they're very upset with us at this moment, but the best is yet to come. But we're going to talk some more about Brother Nolan in a different show, and also compare what happened to him to other cases as well that we need to know about that I'm not going to spend right now. I'm going to cut off right now. Thank y'all for tuning in again where you fit in or don't fit in the words of Dr. Michael King Jr., human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. From me and Ada B, sweet dreams, and know that the best is yet to come. The marathon continues. One love. Be more abundant.